That was funny. Okay, we are ready to begin. We're recording, and let me read what I'm actually supposed to say. Thank you for joining us, those who are live and on the virtual audience and here in person. If you have any technical questions, send a chat message to the host or talk to somebody at the back table if you need any accommodations. And again, we're recording, so thank you. Our microphones are live, and please speak right into them so virtual participants can hear you clearly.
Good morning and Happy New Year. It is 9:06, Thursday, January 8th, 2026, and I am calling to order my last meeting as Chair of the Los Angeles Probation Oversight Commission. I am Eduardo Mundo, Chair of the Commission for a few more hours. If it says on few. We look forward to hearing from our panelists, commissioners, and the public today on several important topics, including an update on probation's depopulation strategy for Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. We'll be electing new officers for the POC and discussing goals for the commission for this year. Finally, we are pleased to have Eric Bates join us today, who has recently been named interim inspector general for the county. Eric has been working with the POC for nearly 5 years, and he will talk to us about his goals as well as the future of collaboration between OIG and POC. Let's get started. I will turn it over to Wendy Julian, our Executive Director, to explain how you can participate during today's meeting, and then she will call roll.
Welcome. Thank you, Chair Mundo, and Happy New Year. As always, we encourage real public participation in Probation Oversight Commission meetings. We welcome comments from members of the public and stakeholders in writing or live today. You'll have an opportunity to make public comment on every agenda item and then again at the end of the meeting for items that are not on the agenda. When we go through an agenda item, Chair Mundo will introduce the item. We'll hear any presentation that's to be made. The commission will have a discussion. They will make any motions if there are motions to be made, and then we'll take public comment before the commission takes any action on the item. If there are more people that want to participate than we have time for, we will consider scheduling additional town halls for specific issues. In fact, we have one scheduled already for January 15th to talk about the Los Padrinos and Camp Athlebah and Rocky inspections. That'll be virtual, and we hope you will join us. I'll say more about that later. Also, it's going to be on our website. As a reminder, please remember to speak directly into the microphone so that our live and virtual attendees can hear you clearly. I'd like for you to respect the following guidelines. Please stop speaking immediately when your time ends so that I don't have to interrupt you. Please make sure your public comment relates to the subject matter of the item and the Probation Oversight Commission. Remain respectful of each other and the forum. It's easy to participate if you're here in person. You just walk up to the podium and you may speak directly into the microphone. If you are online, you need to be on WebEx in order to participate. You can't participate by watching on YouTube. Use the little raise your hand function on WebEx by tapping the hand icon, and we'll add you to the list. If you're calling in and you are calling in on WebEx, you need to dial *3 on your phone to activate the raise hand feature, and then we'll call on you with your phone number. You may have to unmute yourself by clicking the microphone button or dialing *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. Everyone will have 2 minutes today for each comment unless the chair determines otherwise based on the number of commenters. If you'd rather make your comment in writing, you're welcome to send us an email to info@poc.lacounty.gov. We'll put that in the chat. Please do not send your public comment in the chat. The commissioners will not see it, only the host will see it, and it won't be logged as public comment. If you need any accommodations today regarding materials or making public comment, please talk to Janae or Jennifer, who are in the back of the room. Our meeting is being broadcast live to our YouTube channel. As I said, there's no engagement on YouTube with the commissioners, but you can subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the live meetings, recaps, and recordings. Please also follow us on social media so that you can get information about our meetings and invite others to attend. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at LA County POC. Buenos días, bienvenidos, feliz año nuevo a todos. Ya hemos iniciado la conferencia aquí en persona y también virtual por Webex. También estamos grabando esta reunión y, nos puede sintonizar en YouTube. Si le gustaría hacer un comentario público, por favor haga clic en la imagen de la mano en la parte baja de la página y le abriremos su micrófono. Si está escuchando la conferencia por teléfono y quiere hacer una pregunta o comentario, presione estrella 3 y le avisaremos cuando sea su turno. Si está viendo la conferencia por YouTube, no puede hacer comentarios públicos. Si prefiere hacer sus comentarios públicos en español, les daremos el doble del tiempo y podemos proveer traducción al inglés. Al iniciar su comentario, nomás avísenos que necesita traducción o usted puede proveer su propio traductor. Gracias. I will now call the roll. Commissioner Dolores Canales. Here. Commissioner Brooke Harris. Commissioner Ishay Jackson. Commissioner Millie Kakani. Commissioner Don Meredith is out of the country and excused today. Commissioner Sam Prater will be joining us at approximately 10:30. Commissioner Tyreek Ship. Commissioner Diane Terry. And Chair Eduardo Mundo. Chair Mundo, we have quorum and I will turn it over to you.
The approval of the December 11th regular meeting minutes. Wendy, do we have any written public comments or live public comments for item number 2?
No written public comments about the minutes. If there's anyone who would like to make a public comment about the minutes, please raise your hand on WebEx or approach the podium. No public comments.
Good. Can I have a motion to approve the December 11th regular meeting minutes?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Thank you, Commissioner Kokani. Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, commissioners, please vote with a voice vote.
Aye.
Aye. With that, the passes. We will move on to item number 3. We will be discussing and taking possible action on progress the Los Angeles County Probation Department has made with implementing the depopulation plan. The POC requested that these updates include 1, BSCC inspections at Barry J. Nardoff Secure Youth Treatment Facility, Campus Kilpatrick, and Los Padrinos regarding outstanding unsuitability, corrective action plans, and approval for operations as a juvenile hall. Number 2, an update on the movement of gross and gender expansive youth from LP to Dorothy Kirby Center to Campus Kilpatrick. And finally, an update on the movement of developmentally disabled youth from LP to BJN or DKC and how their services are impacted. Here today to present are Jocelyn Roman and Kim Binyan and Robert Arkles.
Thank you, Chair Mundo, and I know you put a little emphasis on your last meeting, so congratulations on getting through the year, and Happy New Year to the commissioners. And with me today, as mentioned, is Deputy Director Jocelyn Roman, who oversees our facilities, and our Superintendent Extraordinaire, Kim Binyan, who oversees both CVK and Dorothy Kirby. And before I turn it over to them, I just wanted to really cite the work of Superintendent Binyan and Director Catherine Bay. They were at the Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday and really recognized by the supervisors for really their commitment and dedication to working to the placement of our pregnant females that were in our custody up into that period of time. We had 3 youth at one point. So just the hard work and the coordinated and collaborative work with our other partners, of course, throughout the process to get them placed, that really then finally opened up the remaining female youth from LP to move to CVK. So that was really great work and a lot of grit behind that and a lot of phone calls that were being made. So I just wanted to make sure that you all heard that as well today. So Deputy Director Roman can handle the BSCC questions around Barry J and LP, and Superintendent Binyan can handle any issues related to CVK and DKC and the plans towards the movement of the DD boys from LP to DKC. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
For the inspections that you have requested updates on, it was Berry J, Campus Kilpatrick, and Los Padrinos. I'll start out with Berry J. Berry J is currently still undergoing inspections. They have 3 that have been happening. One was for the cap that was outstanding. There was one item that was still remaining on the cap, and that one was for the safety checks. That cap has just completed inspection. We haven't received the feedback on. They're doing the comprehensive.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jocelyn. Can you say more about what the CAP is, just for the public to understand?
So the CAP was a corrective action plan on several items. It was 3 altogether. And one was safety checks, room confinement, and use of force. Room confinement and use of force were cleared. The one that remained was safety checks. And BSCC has been coming back to do the reinspection on the safety check item. That inspection, we have not received the feedback on whether or not that passed, but the inspection has occurred. Additionally, they're going through a targeted inspection as well as a comprehensive inspection at the facility. BSCC has been on site doing that. We just uploaded some more documents. BSCC is reviewing those documents. So those inspections have not been completed. So we can't give any feedback on. We haven't received any written documentation.
Can you just clarify, are you talking about the SYTF or the juvenile hall portion of Berry J or all of it?
Both sides of the facility are in the middle of inspection, yes. So that's for Berry J. For Los Padrinos, as you already know, Los Padrinos had several items that were found unsuitable. We have continued to work with our teams, including DOJ, including the CEO's office, to work on clearing those caps. We gave some updates yesterday internally as a team. It looks like we're going into a lot of, or we have been in a lot of monitoring. We're working closely to make sure that we're uploading documents, we're reviewing, we're checking to see where we are in terms of our improvements and to getting compliance and preparing for our request for a reinspection from BSCC. Those were for the public for some reminders on what those were. It was room confinement, use of force, restraints, discipline related to BMP, clothing exchange. A lot of it pertained to documentation. So we've been going back and taking a look at it. As you also know, we had a change in superintendent in the middle of that. She seems pretty confident that we're moving in the right direction. The team overall seems pretty confident we're moving in the right direction. The feedback that we've received from DOJ has been that we're making progress. We're showing some notable improvements. So we're confident that we are making the progress that's necessary and preparing for a request for reinspection. And those were for those 2. Ms. Binning can give updates on Campus Kilpatrick. No, yeah, you probably need the mic, Ms. Binning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Uh, Update for the movement of girls and gender expansive youth from LP and eventually DKC to Campus Kilpatrick. A total of 37 youth were transferred from Los Padrinos to CVK. The youths were, the transports were safe. There were no issues to report. Staff are highly engaged with the youth. The program providers are rendering services at CVK. School and visiting has been taking place. The youth are regularly transported to court or their health appointments. We also have on-site medical care provided through JCHS. Our mental health services are provided through DMH. We have partners such as DYD. We have Young Women's Freedom Center and Beloved Village that we work with. And SAPC also provides services at CVK. We have conducted a Meet the Managers Town Hall. I believe it was 3 in November and 1 in December, where the managers have met with the parents and guardians. This is during visiting. And we've received positive feedback from the parents. They really do like engagement that their children have expressed to them that they've had with the staff, and they really do like the campus itself. It's a beautiful campus, and they feel that their child is safe. Intakes, it is a absolutely new process for CVK. We have had 16 admissions since we started taking intakes December 18th. 8 new charges, 2 out-of-county warrants, 2 probation violation, 3 warrants, and 1 court remand. Staff are being trained by an experienced IDC officer on a weekly basis, and IDC at LP has been a tremendous help whenever we call with questions or just even to guide us through the process. They are absolutely open and willing to do so. So they have been instrumental with assisting us when we do have questions. Right now, our POP is at CVK is 29 youth. We were inspected. It was an unannounced inspection from BSCC. The second day we opened, and we did have a corrective action plan, and it was just approved this week. So we will work to get all of that paperwork and all of that documentation and processes in place.
Okay, thanks, Chair Mundo. I just wanted to make sure that when I was speaking about the work behind the placement for our pregnant female, I want to make sure I thank Dr. Galley and Dr. O and JCHS. They did a lot of work to get the registries up and running so we could have 24/7 coverage at Campus Kilpatrick. And now that we are in that position, we can move to the next phase with the move of the girls from DKC. And our goal is by the end of next week to have those girls moved to CVK, which will then open the opportunities now to work on the DD boys from LP to DKC.
Great. Commissioners, any questions, comments, concerns?
Can you tell us more about the cap that's in place that you guys are working on? What are some of the details of that and what the strategy is to address the concerns from the BSCC? For Kilpatrick, sorry, this is for Mrs. Binion, or Ms. Binion, sorry.
Yes, the majority of our corrective action plan was the physical plan, so Title 24 items. We updated our holding tank. We made an intake shower for in order to admit youth. So there are some inspections that need to be done. Yeah, there's just inspections that need to be done regarding the physical plant. Another part of the corrective action plan was to update our operations manual to communicate the changes that have taken place from it being a SYTF step down to an actual juvenile hall. So we updated our operations manual, and that is primarily it. Oh, and one room in our medical module, we updated that as well so that we can have safe observation of a youth there.
Sure. I think that the BOC would benefit from reviewing the operations manual to really see how those changes, how they look as well. So if you guys could provide that with us once it's updated, that would be helpful.
So the operations manual is draft still. We've updated. It has, I think everything that BSCC wants, but we haven't submitted it to them yet with what the final is. So if we provide you something, it would still be draft.
Sure, sure. The mission and vision statement that you shared with us a few meetings ago, is that tied to that plan?
It is.
Okay, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing it.
Actually, thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Jackson. It was received yesterday and is attached to the agenda, and maybe is in your packet. I don't know whether it's in the packet or not, but it is definitely attached to the agenda.
Commissioner Harris?
Good morning. Happy New Year. Thank you all for presenting and giving this update. So I want to simplify this a little bit. what I'm hearing is that all 3 facilities that have been reported on today still are unsuitable. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Binion, I may have missed it. I was typing notes. Can you talk a little bit about staffing and how that's going at CVK? That would be really helpful to hear.
We do have staff covering each shift. We do have staff working overtime to cover the vacancies. Because we do have a classification system of our youth in custody, it's not where all girls, no matter what, just because you're a girl, you're housed together until we fill up a cottage. They're actually classified according to their risk, their age, and so that forces us to have multiple units open so that we can have programming that's appropriate for the classification of youth, that we do have to strategize condensing units and opening units and dealing with behaviors. That is definitely, a collaborative effort with LACO, because that impacts our classrooms. There's just a lot of communication when it comes to staffing. So we do have great dedicated staff that are at CVK that continue to be part of that strategy each shift on making sure that we have safe operations.
Additionally, for the transfer of youth that were pending from DKC, we will be transferring staff over. They're getting noticed that they have requested, they're on the list that have asked to go to Kilpatrick. So we're not just picking staff that don't want to go, but they will be transferring over to campus Kilpatrick. Notices coming for them, and they're anticipating the transfer.
Many of those staff were actually at Scott when it was a girls' camp, correct?
Some of them are from Camp Scott. I went in there and I recognized them from when I was a soup there. So yeah,
Yeah, that's a good group.
yeah, absolutely.
Commissioners? Commissioner Terry? Commissioner Terry was going to take a cut at the title.
I'm done. Okay.
Can you speak a little bit more to programming at DKC, I'm sorry, at CVK and also at Barry J, all the facilities, in terms of what's the status of programming? I know that there's programs in place, but just in terms of, I know part of this plan, there was the intention to have like thoughtful programming by program and all of that. So can you speak to that as well as how you all are gauging how the youth are doing and how they're feeling about all of the movement?
So for CVK, that first week, we definitely have programs. We have our credible messengers that are there every day. Million Little is quite popular. They are very engaging with the youth. We have, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the actual names, but we do have the programs that were at Los Padrinos um, that continued at CVK. We also do engage with the youth, trying to do sports programs because we do have former pro athletes that are staff there. So the staff are proposing different programs that they want to implement. And it's really just finding the schedule, the days, and how to fit in those programs. We have DMH. We want to implement yoga. We want to implement our gardening program. The inclement weather does impact that. And I know that we have a dog program that is scheduled to start with us this year, hopefully in the next couple of months for our girls. And once we get the post-dispo youth there, we will definitely expand our programming, our vocational schools, our vocational programs. We have a hair program where they can actually get certified in cosmetology. We're also looking to get someone in who can certify for esthetician to do eyelashes. One of the staff proposed a barbering program because we do have youth that are interested in that as well. So it's really just getting the interest over to Director Newble so that we can get them in the process. But we have a lot of people that are interested in going to CVK, even though it's far.
Can you expand a little on the education? Is LACO completely staffed, or are you having to rely on substitutes there for the school portion?
I haven't dived into whether they're full-time teachers or substitutes. I can find that out though.
Okay. And is school being disrupted in any way? I mean,
Disrupted.
is it happening daily?
Oh, yes, yes.
perfect.
It happens daily.
Great, thanks.
So if you recall, I mentioned at one of the meetings, Campus Kilpatrick has actually 2 teachers of the year that are permanently assigned there. And due to the low pop, they don't have quite as many classrooms. So I think that they probably run off of 5, something like that. And when I went, I know I saw at least 3 permanents. So they do have a permanent footprint in that facility. Random from when I was there. For the other facilities, talking about programming again, I want to say we made some changes, as you're aware, over at Barry J. Nydorf. So we added Nathan Martinez as an assistant superintendent over the general population. And Lucas Martinez is the assistant superintendent over the juvenile hall portion. Together, they have been talking to kids and collaborating on some ideas that they have about what they can do to enhance programming. Nathan actually was part of BNP way back in his day. So he has some ideas about what they can bring in, and we'll continue to work with Ms. Newble on what they do with the youth. Additionally, we added Jesus Corral to the group for programming. He's had some offsite meetings to discuss programming with some other organizations to be able to bring them on. So within the last month or 2, we've had a lot of collaboration about what the kids actually want and how to bring those things into the facilities. So that continues to work. The Barry J. Nightdorf has 27 groups that are happening. We just went over what the last list was. LP has 42 providers and CBK has 18. And some of those are internal groups. So we mentioned, she mentioned DMH. We know at Kilpatrick, DMH does the DBT groups. They have already been calendared to start the yoga program. So there are things that are occurring that are not necessarily external partners that are doing it, but some of them are internal partners. We have been seeking some collaboration with our staff that are permanent staff to actually get them to do the program, put it on calendar for things that they're interested in doing. That requires consistency, obviously, right? If we're going to say that you're going to do pottery, you have to make sure you're going to your program in your unit to be able to do that. That's one of the things that all managers throughout all facilities have been challenged to do within this first quarter, is find out how I can support the staff that have ideas and how I can help get those implemented into the facilities. We've mentioned before, staff shouldn't come out of pocket for things. We need to be able to support that a little bit better. They've been doing it. We just want to find a way to actually support it and put them into the units consistently so that the kids know that that actual program is going to happen on the days that it's supposed to happen. So working with all facilities on that.
Just a quick follow-up to that. How does that work if I'm staff and I have a program I want to implement, but then given the shortages or people needing to, I don't know, how does that work? If I'm staffing my unit, am I also doing programming for that unit, or am I going somewhere else? How does?
You're doing programming for your unit, right? It's part of our probation duties anyways. We're always engaging, we're always talking. If we're saying we're having a day room, what are we doing in the day room? The board counselor controls that, right? So it's up to us as the facilities to say, I need to send Ms. Roman to Unit L because she's on calendar today to do something in Unit L. So it's our communication that has to be good for that, to make sure that even if we have to make adjustments, we know that you need to go to that unit for that specific reason, which is why it has to be calendared. And we know that it's a staff that's doing it. It's a little bit easier to do that at a small place like Kilpatrick because, you know, it's much, much easier than a larger facility. But I think we're capable of doing it. I know that we have done it. And you can see the benefit of that. DOJ brought up one of the units over at Berry J, where the staffing is very consistent and the kids are benefiting from that, right? The staff know, the kids know, they're bringing in, they had elf on a shelf. Like the kids really knew that that staff was going to move their elf. I mean, I was really impressed with the fact that they were doing things like that within the unit, engaging the kids in very things we do with our own kids at home. But it takes consistent staffing, right, to be able to do things with them. So we're working on getting the ideas directly from the staff. BMP over at Berry J and LP. Mr. Martinez met with the team over at Berry J. I met with the team over at LP about our expectations that they be able to push into the units and actually help with programming. If you're part of the BMP team, you have to believe in rehabilitation. You have to believe that these kids can be engaged, and you have to be open to ideas of engaging them. And my expectation is that they do push into those units. And if you are capable of doing programming and you're on that team, and Mr. Arcos isn't quite as capable, let me stand by Arcos and help Arcos become a little bit more capable of pushing some of his ideas through. So it's a little bit about how do we coach up those people, but we're definitely honing in on it. We definitely know that it's important, and I believe at both facilities, the big ones, we have the right people in the places to be able to push it forward.
Just to piggyback on Commissioner Terry's question, do you distinguish between programming and activities?
Yes.
So the staff, the programming that they're recommending has some kind of write-up that kind of shows what the.
Absolutely. So that's what I've been asking for. I want something that tells me what are the outcomes of what you're doing. And I've asked that from a lot of people for years, right? Because sometimes people say, oh, I have this evidence-based program. And it sounds good, it's catchy, right? And my program is evidence-based. Okay, well, what are your measurement tools, right? How long does a kid have to be in the program in order to get this outcome? It's not always required for that. If you're a staff who's interested in doing something with the kid and they just like it and it's engaging, then that's good too.
Yeah.
But I want to see what the write-up is on what it is that you're proposing to do. So I definitely, and so that we can actually explain it, right? If I'm not there when they do the program, but I read the write-up and I see what the outcomes of it are, I can explain it much better than through hearsay.
Yeah, and activities are good too. It's just-
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just not, measuring them differently, of course.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah, I have
followed
another,
by Commissioner Kokani.
I have another question for Ms. Binion. Can you say more about the climate, the climate in the cottages? I know that we were talking about some pretty like contentious conditions before the transfer. I really want to understand more of like how the girls are responding to each other. Are there fights? Are you activating youth ambassadors to sort of partner with to kind of keep the tone in the cottages balanced? Can you just say more about all of that?
Yes. Ordinarily, it's not a contentious environment. The units with the older girls, they behave fine. They are the youth engage with each other. We have had fights. Our staff, they do stop a lot of near fights. Even in school, the units, our staff are very quick to act to stop the fights. As you know, we don't have OC spray, so the staff do engage with the youth and they talk with them and they talk them down. The credible messengers also are there to talk with the kids, to talk them down and really help them process their thoughts and their emotions and process their actions and behaviors. So ordinarily, it's actually very chill. The younger youth are a bit more easy to get irritated or frustrated with their peers. So it is a constant engagement that the staff have to do with the younger girls to just help them, but that's their age. Yes, so when we first opened, Director Evans did a meet and greet with our partner agencies and the youth and the staff. And that really just helped establish that CVK is a community. That was actually one of the very first things that the old CVK staff were concerned about, is making sure that the community of CVK continues. And that's what I continue to hear. And that's our goal, is to make and keep it a community. It's not just probation, it's not just DYD, it's everybody playing their part. And that has to do with the environment, and it has to do with the climate. And I think that's why it is healthy. The staff really do work together. They work with the supervisors, they work with us as managers to keep that place running and to keep that place safe. And that helps the girls, not be anxious and not be afraid. That was actually one of the first conversations I recall as staff having with the girls that were having an issue, that they were like, no, you're safe here. We are going to keep you safe. And they believe that. So that it really does help, again, to have the veteran staff that we have there, to have staff that the staff who are there, no one is forced. They all want to work there and they all want to be there. And we still do have staff that want to work there, and they are coming.
Yeah, thank you for that. I understand that the classification system helps you determine how to house different groups of girls, right?
Yes.
Do you modify programming based on your understanding of what different groups need? Like, if we know that the younger girls are a little bit more rambunctious and a little bit more active, like, how do we change programming or support their needs based on our understanding of who they are?
And that is an excellent point, and that's what we will work to, is really surveying the kids to see what they are interested in, and looking to our professionals, looking to SAPSI, looking to DMH, so that we can bring in that programming. We do still have a consultant that we are working with to make sure that our programming is gender specific, trauma informed. And for the gender expansive, we really need to expand on that, because we have had quite a few gender expansive youth that have come into our custody. So we want to make sure that we're supporting all of our population. So that is an excellent point, and that is a goal of ours to reach, is to make sure that our programming is age appropriate. It's appropriate to the youth's needs, not what we think, but what they actually need.
Other commissioners? Really, yeah.
Commissioner Kakani.
I just want to ground us in the fact that the reason we're having this conversation is because, right, back in December of last year, LP was essentially not even just unsuitable for the confinement of young people, but ordered to be closed. And through that, right, Judge Espinosa initiated an order to show cause, wherein a depopulation plan was created and I guess approved by the court, I want to say in April or May of last year. And we're now in January of 2026. And I hope the public takes the time to read the report that the Probation Oversight Commission staff put together on the progress of that depopulation plan, which is, it feels atrocious to me that young people across LA County who are subject to our juvenile carceral system are more likely than not to be in a facility that is unsuitable for the confinement of young people. Between Barry J and LP and Kilpatrick, which hasn't even been approved by the BSCC yet. And that shocks my conscience, and I hope that it shocks yours too. Because we're speaking in these generalities, and yet young people are not being afforded the most minimum of standards, which I imagine impacts staff as well. And that, yeah, I hope the public reads it. I hope probation higher ups take the time to read it, because it's deeply concerning to me. And it doesn't, and I hope Judge Espinosa reads it too, because this falls in his lap as well. approving a plan that I think most folks, from the POC to the public, probably even probation employees, didn't feel like was a win, and found significant issues with. And his approval of this plan has left us in a place where very little feels like it has moved forward. With that, I have some specific questions related to Kilpatrick first. One is, there have not been updated population statistics provided since December 31st, at which point there were 19, I think, girls and gender expansive youth at Kilpatrick. And in the last 8 days, there are additional 10 girls, it sounds like. I think you said the population is currently 29. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so are those new intakes? Are those girls and gender expansive youth who've been transferred from LP? Or where are those 10 new young people from?
So right now we have discovered that there is a IT issue with populating Kilpatrick. It's how Kilpatrick is configured in our case management system. That's as far as my explanation can go, because that's as far as I understand. However, we do have a workaround with our IT people until the system can count Kilpatrick as a facility that does admissions, and that also interfaces with the other systems. So our medical chart system, just quite a few other systems. It's an interface issue. And so our population is 29 today. The kids aren't lost, they are accounted for, but it is a tech issue.
So then there were more than 19 people on December 31st, 2025?
I can't recall what the pop was in, but I can get that information to
I'm just
you.
curious if there were 10 new young people who were added to Kilpatrick in the last 8 days, given that the last number we received was 19 and today's number is 29.
I'll get that information to you.
Okay. And it's my understanding that there are still girls and gender expansive youth at Dorothy Kirby Center.
Yes.
Are those girls and gender expansive youth going to move to Kilpatrick? Is that the plan? Or is there a timeline for that?
Yes. Mr. Arcos said that in the next couple of weeks, we will have Kilpatrick as the all girls and gender expansive facility for pre and post dispo youth.
Okay. And then I think you said that it's not IDC and IDC are the folks who do the intake when a young person is, I guess, brought to probation's custody, who kind of determines, are they staying, are they going? So you don't have IDC staff at Kilpatrick, is that right? And so you have new staff who are kind of holding the work of what was traditionally held by IDC staff?
No, IDC at Los Padrinos take the booking clearance calls, and they still do their part.
Okay.
And once the youth is cleared to book, they notify the transporting officer, the transporting agencies, the local law enforcement to transport the youth to Kilpatrick.
So when you said that Kilpatrick staff was receiving weekly training from IDC staff, what training were you referencing?
How to complete the admissions process, the questions to ask the parents, because eventually we would love to take on IDC duties and responsibilities. So that is part of that process, is training our staff to do so. And the court process, again, making sure that the calls are provided to the youth, provided to the attorneys, just a lot of information that CVK ordinarily did not do. So we want to make sure that we comply with the juvenile hall standards. And because IDC they do care that we're successful, we have an arrangement for one officer to work shifts up at CVK to train us.
So there's always an IDC person, or just you, or it's once a week, you were saying?
It's once a week.
Okay, so I guess, are these, I guess I'm a little confused, because, so are the staff at Kilpatrick fully trained then to do the phone calls, the whatever it is, the preparing for court, or is it kind of like we're learning as we're going?
All staff are not fully trained. Staff are being trained on the process. And as we are getting trained, we are also doing a manual, because that once a week doesn't cover all of our staff, but we are taking the steps so that we can ensure the training is provided to all staff.
Okay. And then you said that the majority of the corrective action plan that was submitted to the Board of State and Community Corrections was for physical plant issues. Were there any, like, since that's not 100%, what were the other issues that were not related to physical plant?
It was our
Oh,
operations
that's it.
manual.
Okay.
The other part were not necessarily issues, but inspections and some additional, um, again, because we made an intake shower, like that has to be approved. It has to be inspected and approved by different inspectors, not just PSCC. I'm trying to think of other plant issues. Oh,
I wanted to know
removing
about the
urinals.
non-plant.
That's another thing. Adding detention grade mirrors as opposed to the post-dispo mirrors. It's small items like that that are physical plants, but still we have to prepare our facility for juvenile hall youth.
But yeah, I'm talking about the non-plant things.
So some of the non-plant things that were quickly rectified were such as the length of a telephone cord that we use to give calls to kids. The operational manual, I think we've mentioned it a couple of times. The hinge on a door, the way that it was structured, those were caps that needed to be completed, and some of those could be done extremely quickly, and those have been taken care of. The other ones that cannot be taken care of quickly were actual inspections coming onto the facility. But the only thing that was significant for us to complete was that operational manual. And just to be clear, an operational manual had been completed. It was distributed, it was signed off on, we met with the staff on it, it was done. We got TA after we had already started it, and now we're revising a manual. So they're already aware, but it was some of these nuances about like intake. How are we doing it? So the manual is going to be a little bit of work in progress because we're saying, hey, this might be a better way to do it than how we thought it would be. But it wasn't as if we sent staff in there without any guide. It actually existed. So mostly Title 24. Some of the things that could be done quickly were done. Telephone cords, hinges. I think it was the security, what is it? The glazing, the glass, that's taken care of. Other things are going to take a little bit of time that's outside of our immediate control, such as the inspections.
And then of the 29 girls and gender expansive youth who are there, I think I've asked this before, how many of them were able to receive in-person visits? I guess, I don't know if you like keep track of that every week to make sure that parents and people who love these young people are able to trek up to Malibu.
They are all able to receive visits from their parents. We don't preclude any parent visitors or grandparent visitors. We have visiting on Saturday and Sunday because it is so far away and it is remote. So we don't want to limit the days that parents can come up to visit. Usually up to 3 parents will visit.
Okay.
Uh,
So
we also do plan on extending our virtual visits, but we cannot rely on that. It's actually against standards to do that instead of. But yeah, Saturday and Sundays are visiting days.
I guess, yeah, I guess how, like, maybe I'm not stating my question correctly. I just want to know how many kids are, I get that they're all able to receive visits and that you're affording that by, creating the hours and setting things up, but like,
Yeah.
how many girls are in gender expansive youth are actually having visits? Or if it's easier, how many young people are not having any visits and seeing?
I think she said it was 3.
So it's just 3 visits per Saturday and Sunday total?
No, it varies. It is according to the parents' availability. We do have a ride share that we collaborate with Young Women's Freedom Center through DYD to offer ride share. So we really do support and encourage the parents to come, and we've had they do use the ride share.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, that's only 3 visits, you're saying, per.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think it
low.
locked
It's
into
low
that
at
number.
CBK,
Okay, thank
Commissioner,
you.
and I'd say part of the
Same
visitation,
thing.
part of the visitation policy that we're working on, we are tracking that now.
Okay.
I'm tracking not just at CBK, but across our facilities for population, number of visitors, for percentages. Because one of the things that OYCR really cited in there is that we also need to track those kids who are not getting any visits.
Right.
And then what we can do around that to make sure that we can get some sort of mentorship or an adoption of a support person for them. So we are tracking those numbers, and I can give maybe Wendy or the new chair first look at what we're doing. But the numbers there at CBK are not what we want them to be.
Okay.
But they are getting their phone calls, et cetera, and we're going to.
I don't doubt that, but I
Yeah,
think that was
yeah.
one of the concerns that we had is the ability for,
Yeah.
whether you're providing rideshare, whether you're, no matter what you're providing, it's far.
Right.
And I think that's all I'm trying to establish here is that if even at most or on average,
So what
6
I,
out of 29 young people are getting visits,
Let
that
me,
feels.
what I would like to chime in on and say is what you probably want to do is ask us to compare what it was when
Thank
they
you.
were at LP to what it is at Kilpatrick, because
Sure.
what we're asserting is that the location is why those visits are low. But I think historically, girls have not received a lot of visits from my own experience with working with girls. So I think the idea that it's the location that's keeping that number low may not quite be accurate.
Yeah, I mean,
And so I'm happy to take a look at those numbers so that we can
Yeah.
actually have a real conversation.
I mean, if this has been a longstanding issue, then yeah. I
And just
think
for
it's-
reference, Commissioner Kokani, when I was at Camp Scott, we had about 80 girls. And on a good Sunday, we had 10 visits.
Mhm.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
I
hear you.
understand, but I
wish
just
that
don't
then we
want
should
the
be-
community to get this idea that it just dropped all of a sudden.
Right.
It's always been an issue.
Right.
Kids getting visited, whether they're female or male, whatever they are, it's always been an issue.
Right, and I imagine if we know that a larger percentage of the girls in gender expansive
Can we
youth
take a
are,
couple seconds,
off-
Commissioner?
I'm just finishing my sentence,
Oh, okay.
but it's all right, I can pass it.
Commissioner Kakani, I just had one more thing that I wanted to add. We had CASA come up, and we were talking about that as well. So we're going to make sure that we have a connection with making CASA referrals so that the CASA workers can also come in to visit, because it is important that our youth are supported.
I only raised my hand because I thought you were done.
But so did I. That's why the pause.
Go for it.
Well, I just wanted to ask a question before I forgot. You mentioned with the rideshare program that you're partnering with community-based organizations, and you mentioned like Young Women's Freedom Center to get rides. And so I'm wondering if we can get a report from Young Women's Freedom Center of what their strategy is, how many connections have they made with family members, how many family members have they actually transported, and their part in the responsibility as well, since if I'm understanding correctly, right?
We have those numbers. We can provide them.
Oh,
for
you do?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's good, just to see that. And then I also wanted to mention in Barry J with the programming, I just really want to commend Director Newble for everything she's done there. I've been to some amazing activities, and I know the effort that she puts forth in contacting every single family member, trying to get them there in person. I do look forward. I know the past several events that I've been there, Mr. Martinez has also been there and discussing his vision as he's coming into a role there, and I'm really looking forward to coordinating with them. He's also welcomed the commissioners to get involved and to, give input and, just welcoming everything. And while we were there, we were able to go to LP and Barry J over the holidays. And, my husband's always willing to dress up as Santa. And that was just, seeing what a difference it makes during the holiday time and seeing the staff that are supportive of that, I think is so important. And I think it needs to be mentioned, and brought up. And, just having those amazing events, watching the children get presents and everything. And the commissioners here at our last meeting, we had a whole table full of presents for Camp Afterbahn. Just recognizing that, and making sure that their families are being connected with and the efforts that are being put forth there as well. One thing I did notice though at Barry J, we went to every single unit. In one of the housing units, I was noticing that, I understand their brain is not developed, but I would assume, gosh, they look so big and the, 23 and 24 with 15-year-olds. And so I mentioned it and they said, oh no, Barry J doesn't separate by age. And I said, that's kind of a big person to have with a 15-year-old. And so I'm just wondering, so they just combine 15 through 24 together? There is no separation of like 18 through 24?
So there are separations. We have housing criteria. I would really want to take a look at what unit you were in to see what that may have been. Some of the specialized units, like the DD unit, there are other criteria that are taken into consideration for that unit. But I would really want to take a look at what specifically you're referring to, because we do take age into consideration.
Okay, because I kept asking the staff, I said, they're not telling me the truth, right? And then the other staff said, no, that they do mix them. And I'll be there again Sunday, but definitely, yeah.
Yes, please. I would definitely like to look into it a little bit more. Size and stature is also something that we take into consideration. Sometimes we assume like the 14 and 15-year-olds should be together, and sometimes there's a 15-year-old who's really developed as an 18-year-old and meets some other criterias. And so we make some adjustments off of size and stature sometimes.
Thank you.
Oh, and I did want to mention, thank you for bringing up the programming and the events that were happening. Both locations all locations, let me not just say both. All locations were doing events for the kids over the holidays, serving meals and doing other things. We did events for the staff as well, to acknowledge them and celebrate them during the holidays. Every facility adopted families from the communities, from DPSS, in addition to the things that we do for our own kids. So we're really working on not just working with our own kids, but doing things outside. Hoops for Justice will be at LP this week, and when is it? Saturday. Sorry, Saturday. And Ms. Mitchell will be there. Supervisor Mitchell will be there meeting with them. We have one of our youth that is in her district and has some ideas. And so she'll be coming through to hear the ideas from the youth. So we're really trying to collaborate and do some stuff, but definitely those events that happened over the holidays, I think maybe they got highlighted because it was holidays, but I think they happen a little bit more than we pay attention to.
Right.
The work that Ms. Newble has done has been amazing at bringing people in and trying to engage them. They did a sip and paint, right?
Mhm.
Some of the out of the box thinking that we talk about, what are the different things that kids might want to do? Somebody might not think that's even a good idea, and then you see how engaged they are and how much they want to do it, and you realize like, we like it. So we go to sip and paints, right?
Mhm.
So there are ideas and things that are out of the box that we are definitely open to doing and putting on some big events. And we will continue to invite commissioners to participate in those events so that you can see and maybe give some of your ideas on what we can do on bigger scales.
Yep.
I definitely agree. And I was able to witness one young father walk in and, just kind of like, as I engaged and he is wrapping his present, but acting like he really didn't care. But the minute he held his little girl for the first time, 6 months old, his transformation was just like so obvious. I mean, he's smiling, he's cuddling with his little baby girl, and he's just holding her the whole time. And he's asking like, how do I hold her? And I just saw that like right before my eyes because of the way he walked in. So we need to get, I think that was just right there, transformational, and I want to uplift that and all the effort that Director Newble put into that. And one young man, his girlfriend and baby didn't end up showing up. So we all got him, we sat with him, we embraced him, we took pictures with him. We're like, we show up for you, and just embracing that even sometimes where you're doing absolutely everything. The only reason Director Newble pulled him out is because she talked to her and she said, I'm right here. And then, and then something happened. I'm sure, traffic, LA traffic, anything could stop you in your tracks, right? So, just all the efforts. Thank you.
Commissioner Ship.
Yeah, thank you. So while I'm sitting here looking at this, I could only ask one real question. What is the budget? Well, what amount of money have we spent on this? And as we see, I'm not asking for projected budgeted or anything like that, but I'm asking for the actual amount, especially when we talk about things that come up that you never intended to come up. How much are we actually spending? And is there a dollar amount? Will we know the exact amount of money we spent on this?
Are you talking about specifically like for what happened, the sip and paint?
Well,
How much
I'm talking about the complete depopulation plan, and that can include the corrective action plan. Like, how much have we spent on this?
Oh, that's a completely different question. I think you would have to ask us exactly what it is that you're trying to get a number for, and then that number can be pulled. So if you're asking me how much repairs cost, for instance, that's its own category.
Okay.
That wouldn't be something that I have offhand, but if that's a request that the commission would like to make, you're more than welcome to.
The reason I asked this is because at this point, we've done a depopulation plan. And as Commissioner Kakani has stated, we're still unsuitable. So if this doesn't work, then we have to pivot again. The reason I'm asking this is, does the department have the resources to continue to have to pivot, continue to have to do corrective action plans over and over again? I feel like budgeted funds like this can be used elsewhere. So does the department have the funds to continue to pivot if necessary?
The answer is we have to. So some of the things that are on this corrective action plan, as we discussed, were not huge fixes that had a high dollar amount, removing a hinge, taking a telephone cord, revising an operations plan. Not everything that had to be done had a cost that was insurmountable. Now, some of the things that we have done that have had costs are because they actually meet standards, right? We're using facilities that have been around for a really long time. We haven't had a budget that actually allows us to tear it off, tear it down and build it back again. So there is a cost to putting up cameras. We're a large county, so we have to have those things and they come at a cost. But those are things that we have to have regardless. There's nothing that we have done that we have looked at and said, yeah, that was a waste of money. We shouldn't have done that. Everything has been an investment into our youth. We have yet to see something and take it out of a facility and say that was a bad idea. If it costs a certain amount to put up the windows, those are the windows that BSCC is telling us to put up. It's not that we're going out and we're picking out something. So yes, I think we have to do it. I think that it's to meet the standards. I don't think that any of it is wasted money. I don't think that you would pivot and do anything different. These are our kids in our community. We have to house them and we're meeting the standards that we're expected to meet. That's it.
Yes, but my question wasn't whether you had to do it. It was just how, like, can we continue to do it, right? These are resources that are being pulled from somewhere else. Maybe that is staffing, and staffing is a big issue, right? We spent 30 million in overtime last year. So how do where are these resources being pulled from? And how are we able to just continue to reallocate funds from maybe staffing or maybe programming to try to figure out how to fix problems that should have been fixed in the first place? Like, maybe my question isn't about budgets in general, but how do we get to a place where we don't have to reallocate funds in general? And when will we get to that place? Maybe that's more so my question.
I think we continue to do the work that we're doing. Once we put in, say, the cameras, right? The cameras are there. The cost has already been met. Now we're monitoring. We're using them for all the things that we've been asked to do, especially by OIG, the monitoring of incidents, the reviews. We're getting out of our investment what we wanted to get, which is the ability to monitor and look at things in real time, or even after the fact. We're not reallocating from budgeted items to say we're not going to hire a staff because we have to put in these cameras. So that reallocation is not occurring. The county has the budget that we have been allocated. We've been using the money accordingly, and we're doing it for the good of the kids. When we say, what could we do differently? We're not keeping more kids in custody because we want to use the windows that we put in place, right? We've been releasing kids. We've been turning kids away based on the criteria that we have. We're still servicing the community. We're still doing the work that we have to do. We're not doing anything different because we have had to make adjustments to meet these standards. The standards are there, and we're getting a lot of oversight from different agencies and a lot of asks. And the things that we're doing are to meet the asks. And we're not saying that the asks are wrong or that they're inappropriate, but they come with a cost. And so if we don't want to have that cost, then sometimes we have to go and reprioritize. And I think that that's come up before when we've said, well, why haven't you done this? And we said, well, because we had to do this first, right? We're putting things in order, and we're making selections on things based on where they fall in terms of our compliance. So I think we continue to move forward. I think we continue to look at it and make the best decisions possible, but they're not being made in a vacuum. They're being made to service our kids and making sure that we're taking safety of our staff into consideration, all of it. But it is for compliance. So I don't think that we are misusing funds in any way, but if there's a specific question as to how much something costs, again, I think that's a request that the commission can make and then go from there.
I wasn't insinuating that the department is misusing funds. I'm just saying that where are these funds coming from? And if you can get us maybe a breakdown of how much this has cost, or where are these funds coming from? Like, what is the situation behind this? Because maybe this is beyond my knowledge, but I don't think that the county is planning to have the corrective action this many times inside of a year. And so I'm hoping we can get a budgeted amount or a budgeted sheet that tells us where the money is coming from and how much we spent, and not just projected, but actuals.
Okay, thank you. We're an hour into our meeting, and I think it's a good opportunity for the public to weigh in, or at least give them an opportunity if they're available. Do we have any written or public comments, Wendy?
We do have some written public comments that were already uploaded to the agenda, and if there are any other written comments, please email them to info@poc.lacounty.gov. If we receive them before 5 p.m. today, we will attach them to the agenda and to the minutes and send them to the commissioners. So with that, we'll go to public comment. If you're online on WebEx, please use the raise your hand function, the little hand icon. If you're on the phone, dial *3, and that will put you in the queue. And if you're here in person, we welcome you to come up to the podium, and we'll take your public comment on this item, which is an update on the depopulation plan. I don't see any comments in the room. Oh, let me see if I've got do we have any online comments? Okay, we have one call-in user. We're going to unmute you, and you need to dial *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. You're unmuted. We have a call-in user who is attempting to make public comment. You may need to dial *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, let's go to Lena Mallet, and then we'll come back to the call-in user. Go ahead, Lena. Good morning.
I first just wanted to thank the POC so much for the POC evaluation of the probation department's depopulation plan. I think as an average person in the community, it's been a real challenge trying to track what has happened with the progress with this plan. And I feel like pieces of this evaluation were left out of the conversation, and I just wanted it to be heard publicly for folks who weren't able to read it. So I'm just going to read a few takeaways that I thought were really impactful for me. The first being that despite explicit commitments to depopulation and enhanced service delivery, probation's data indicate that population levels at Los Padrinos remain significantly higher than projected. And the total number of youth incarcerated has increased from 558 to 885 between the approval of the depopulation plan and the very last day of 2025. Secondly, wanting to name that the environment at Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall remains fragile since the implementation of the depopulation strategy, and some challenges has increased. And I want to quote directly. In addition, indicators such as increased OC spray usage at Barry J. Nydorf suggest that population transfers may have displaced rather than alleviated operational and safety challenges from Los Padrinos to the receiving facilities. Despite all the conversation that's been had today and reports from the probation department on the kind of progress that they've made towards service delivery for young people, towards the care of young people, it's still clear, per the Probation Oversight Commission's repeated inspections and diligent work inside these facilities, that the changes and the shifts that were supposed to result from this depopulation plan, namely the reduction in the population of young people at Los Padrinos because of the facility being unsuitable, has not happened. And it's terrifying and it's disgraceful. And I hope, to Commissioner Kakani's point, that Judge Espinoza, that the board and that others are noticing this discrepancy.
Thank you. So just one correction, the numbers have gone from 558 to 585, not 858. And we'll give Deputy Director or Deputy Chief Arcos a chance to actually also bring up some other information regarding the drop-in intake and what they have in their control and what they don't have in their control. So
Let's see, you want me to finish public comment first or go
Yes.
to, okay, great. So we'll go back to the call-in user. You need to dial *6 to unmute yourself. Let's try it again. Okay, I'm sorry that the technical issues are not allowing you to make public comment. If you'd like to send an email to info@poc.la-county, we'd be happy to receive it. And we have an in-person public commenter. Welcome. Please begin.
Hello, good afternoon. I wanted to know what the cost of housing these 585 juveniles is, first of all. And what are you guys doing about drug use in the facilities? And I know the staff has been an issue for a while. I have a friend that works there at one of the facilities, and he constantly has to miss his kids' events at schools and other events because he has to work so much. What are we doing about getting more staff into these facilities? Because I don't think we're gonna be completely dismantling the system. So you guys are gonna have to have employees working there. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for that. Also, just so folks know, on Tuesday, the chief will be presenting at the board. I don't know if some of you will be there as well, but the presentation for that agenda item has already been uploaded to the board agenda and includes some conversation about staffing. So I would encourage folks to tune in to the board meeting to get some updates on that item specifically. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, I'm not following the protocol here. Okay, let's go to, so we have call-in user number 7. Your number starts with 323. You need to dial *6. Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Emily Zamora with Youth Justice Coalition. I just want to point out how devastating it is to come back from the holidays with the same report that all 3 facilities are still unsuitable. And yet this is where our youth spend their time instead of being loved and cared for with family and community, as you all have. It doesn't matter how many resources and programs you intend to put into these camps and halls, a jail cell is still a jail cell. And so no surprise, the depopulation plan has failed and will continue to fail until probation stops playing a game of hot potato with our young people's livelihoods, because you can't get it together, which you never do. This plan committed to reduce the Los Padrinos population by 103 youth, and yet have only had a reduction in population of 30 youth. At least that's what the report says. Your word means nothing, and your actions say everything about how little you all do for the young people that you're supposed to support and keep safe for our youth.
Thank you. We'll go next to Tawhida. Tawhida Shakur.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Okay. Also, thank you for saying my name right. I really appreciate that. But okay, Hello, my name is Sarah Shakor. We just returned from the holiday break, a time that's supposed to center family, safety, and love. But for many young people in the system, that wasn't the reality. Instead, they were moved last minute, shuffled from placement to placement like musical chairs, as if relocation alone could fix abuse. Let's be honest, that plan failed. Moving children from one placement to another does not stop harm. If they remain in the system, they remain exposed to abuse and trauma. It doesn't matter where you move them, harm follows when the system itself is the problem. Children deserve safety, stability, and dignity, not reshuffling. I also want to name a clear double standard. If a social worker walked into any of our homes and deemed them unsafe, our children would be removed immediately. We are not allowed to carry pepper spray around children without serious consequences, and rightfully so. Yet, somehow in juvenile halls, children are allowed to be pepper sprayed while in state care. How is that acceptable? How is that protection? If this were happening in our homes, it would be called abuse. So we cannot allow it to be called policy simply because it's happening in an institution. Our children deserve better than this system, and until the system changes, moving kids around will never be the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jazara Holiday. Good morning, Jazara.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I did hear you, but then it sounds like it cut off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's good. Please begin.
Okay, perfect. My name is Jazar Holiday from Youth Justice Coalition, and I just want to shed light on the fact that a young person's mind doesn't finish developing till at least 25 years old, and even for myself, I would say that I don't feel like mine is moving at that pace. Monitoring and overcoming trauma in everyday life, navigating not having a family for the holidays, and the outside world can be depressing and a lot to overcome in an everyday fight. Now imagine being alone, no family, moved or shuffled away from home, knowing already you weren't going to be home for the holidays, but now who did have access to you, mom, grandpa, grandma, to show you love, who can make the inside and your heart feel like home for the holidays. 9 times out of 10, they don't have access to them anymore. So I just want you guys to think about that when you guys were opening presents and gifts with your kids and how they smiled. Those kids didn't get those same smiles, those same loves. And the people that could give that to them, you guys kind of made it way harder for them to access them. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go one more time to the final call-in user. Your number also starts with 323. I think your call-in user number 6. You need to dial *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
All right.
There we
Hello,
go.
my name is
Please.
George Garcia. I'm here to speak about how no matter where you guys move on to another facility, staying under the system's jurisdiction will only cause harm and keep causing harm unless you guys really do something inside. Relocation does not mean safety, and and children deserve safety, stability, and dignity, and not reshuffling. Thank you for hearing whatever I gotta say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that wraps up our public comment.
Perfect. Commissioner Jackson.
Which? Oh, thanks again. And thanks, Lena, for highlighting your takeaways in public comment. I wanted to get probation's thoughts on our assessment. Obviously, there are vulnerabilities in the depopulation plan, and it seems that a lot of issues are migrating versus being mitigated in any real meaningful way. But if we could have you guys speak to some of the points that were made in our assessment, assuming that you did read it, and also kind of like what your self-evaluation is of your progress on implementing the plan.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Commissioner. I think one thing I don't want to get ahead of it too much because the chief's going to speak next Tuesday to the board, and we just received this report yesterday. I know you also received reports the day before as well. So, just first takeaways from it too. There's a lot of things that I think that are not accounted for in the report that we need to take a better look at. I think both, not only us, but the commission as well. Is we don't know the progress of a law enforcement arrest during this last year. Are they up or down? We don't know the number of petitions that have been filed this year as well, up or down. These are the things that we want to dig into as well. But There's one thing that is, I think, very important to be stated here, though, is that there is a static number that we have no control over, and that is our transfer motions that sit at LP. We have approximately 50 youth that are sitting there that we have no discretion on, and they remain there. So that number will never change until there's movement and progress on their cases. So, and then one of the things also I mean, it's not, I don't want to split hairs on it, but for example, in one of the months that was reported, that we're up to 300 at LP. And I think you all know this. So the population that comes in and out of Los Padrinos through intake is dynamic. It's not static. So for instance, that morning, that day, it was at 300, but by the end of the day, it was at 285 because there's constantly evaluations for CDP, or we get information on rejects that come through. So it's constantly fluctuating. So those are the things that we also want to look at. Externally, as far as the strategy on the depopulation plan and it moving, there's also some peaks and valleys on that, on how we could, once we closed Camp Page, how we were able to shift some of our staffing to help shore up some of our facilities so we could move people. We also were dependent on our partners. Again, no fault of theirs, it was hard to get additional nursing registry for CVK, so that held us up a little bit on moving our girls from LP a little bit more expeditiously like we wanted to, which then has the domino effect that we couldn't move our girls from DKC or our gender expansive folks from DKC over to CVK, so then we can open up the transfer of boys from LP, DD boys to DKC. So there's a number of things that kind of get thrown in the mix, and we have to pivot with each one, and we have to continue to look at those things. But those are the kind of the first takeaways. I know the chief will do a little bit deeper dive, and he'll be asking us to look at some of this data as well for him, so as we prepare for our meeting next week.
Commissioner Harris.
Mr. Arcos, are you not internally looking at this plan and evaluating doing that self-assessment about the numbers that you're seeing? I mean, you all published the depopulation, not you, but the department published the depopulation plan with these projected numbers. I assume there was thoughtful rationale behind the numbers and goals that you all wanted to hit. You have not hit the goals. You're very far away from the goals as I'm looking at the numbers. So I appreciate that we all got the report yesterday, or you got the report yesterday, but I would hope that you would be looking at these numbers pretty consistently, because you are constantly dealing with staffing issues. You're constantly dealing with BSCC compliance issues. Your facilities, you now have more facilities out of compliance because of this depopulation plan, as I understand it.
Yeah.
So you're doing more work to try to come in compliance with the state, the DOJ, et cetera, et cetera. So are you prepared to tell us today any reasons why the department is so far off the mark from the published numbers that you had put into the depopulation plan and the numbers as they stand as of December 31st?
I don't know that I understand your question, Commissioner Harris, completely, other than to say that there's intangibles here, right? I just talked about it being static versus dynamic on population. And just to tell you, and I think that I'm sure you're pretty consistent as I am, I look at these numbers every day. It's been my life the last 4 months since I moved into this position. I think data is very important to me, and it is to the chief. This is how we evaluate what we need to do and when we're not being effective, and how we can be more effective or efficient in restructuring either staffing or looking at different ways where we can lower the population. And as I've spoken to others on the outside of this before, is I think all of us here together want the same outcome. We want that population to be lowered. There's no doubt. But there are some things that are obstacles that I think are it's sometimes unfairly applied to what we have in our control, what we don't have in our control. And I don't have a better answer for you on that, but I think I understand what you're saying, but we are looking at it.
I'd like to say one of the things that we did do, because we are constantly evaluating and pivoting and making adjustments, is two of the items that the report shows as not being completed are things that we decided not to do at this time, which was moving the kids over to Camp Page that were pending going to camp. We didn't do that because we didn't find a need. The kids aren't waiting extremely long in juvenile hall to get to camp. When we created the plan, we thought that we would have a significant amount of kids waiting. And so to remove them from the juvenile hall, we would send them over to Camp Page. Our analysis showed that they're waiting between 2 and 3 days on average. So we didn't see a reason to open up an entire camp to do that. But that is us pivoting, that's us looking at our data and seeing what else can we do a little bit different, a little bit better. So we are making adjustments.
I'm sorry, Jocelyn, how many days are they waiting?
2 to 3.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we will continue to look at the information as we are. But when you're asking for things that we can say specifically to answer to, your questions regarding your report, I don't think we're answering the questions directly to the report, but we are constantly looking at it and we are making the adjustments and are trying very, very, very hard to decrease that population. And as you can tell, looking at the numbers, we're not taking in kids that we don't have to take. And that's part of the way that we're controlling that number. There's not a kid that I've come across on the list that I go, shouldn't have taken that kid. So we'll continue to look at the report that you provided. The chief is expecting an answer from us, obviously, with some feedback. But there was an example that I wanted to share with you, such as Camp Page. The show is incomplete, but it's just something we decided not to do at this moment. If necessary, if we see that there's an increase, then we will reconsider it.
So before we move on to the next item, I just had one question, and I really don't want to go into the weeds with this one. But I was really surprised at the 19 intake at Camp Kilpatrick. That's a big number. Will that data be shared by the intake reports monthly, or is that a separate data collection? Is it?
Yeah, it's on we separated it out where it's a CVK.
Oh,
and-
perfect.
and
In
LP.
front of it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're asking for that. And we've also asked to start including other classification on our population at LP, because I think we use a generic term like case pending, that we want to kind of sort that out to transfer motion pending. So it'll show those numbers.
Oh, great, great. Okay, well, Commissionership.
I know we've been on this topic for a little while, but I just probably have a very simple question. A few months ago, I asked the chief, what is the backup if this doesn't work? He told me he would get back to us, and he never did. Currently, is there a backup, or is this a plan that you all are willing to stick through, regardless of what happens, or the unsuitabilities or anything? Is this a plan that you are willing to stick to by your guns on, or is there a contingency plan, a backup plan, or anything in place that the whole vision will pivot to, and that can address some of these issues as well?
This is our plan and we're definitely owning it. There is no other pivot. These are the facilities. We're making the adjustments to them as necessary to be able to use them. But pivoting to a different plan, we just won't move forward. Now, making adjustments to this plan, that's a yes. But pivoting to something different, we're not in that position.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to agenda item 4, we will be discussing and taking action on elections for the position of Chair, Vice Chair, and Secretary of Los Angeles County Probation Oversight Commission. The nominations have been posted to the agenda, and all 3 positions are uncontested. Commissioner Dolores Canales has been nominated as Chair, Commissioner Diana Terry as Vice Chair, and Commissioner Tariq Ship as Secretary. Executive Director Julian will be facilitating the elections and public comment.
Thank you, Chair Mundo. And before I move on, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for these last 2 years of your service as chair in this role. I have learned so much from you, not just in the last 2 years, but since the beginning of the commission. I have a feeling that Nora Mundo, who many of you don't know, really probably wants to hit end on the phone a few times when we're talking about probation on phone calls. And I have learned about the ins and outs of the juvenile justice system, but more than that, about dedication to actual reform of the department. I think you have led with an extraordinary amount of commitment and consistency. We joke about the NAT approach, but it is actually, in fact, that level of consistency that I think has made a tremendous change for the commission. And I do actually mean it that I want to thank Nora, Eduardo's loving wife, who has been very tolerant of this fake retirement that he's in. So I appreciate it. I hope that Jack is not in the audience today to give public comment about his concerns that have been brought to him by Nora. But the dedication that these commissioners show on this commission is tremendous. And in the role of the chair, of course, that means something more. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know I speak for the staff, and this has been a learning experience for me, and I've appreciated sitting next to you, and I will look forward to seeing you transition into the role of commissioner. I think that's going to be exciting to watch. So thank you for what you've taught me. Thank you for what you have shared with us and what you will continue to share in your new role. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Before I ask for a motion on the proposed officers, all of whom are running unopposed, are there any other nominations for officers from commissioners? Okay. Hearing none. I'm going to ask commissioners to vote separately on the candidates. I think that's the best way to do it. However, before that, we will take public comment. So just to reiterate what Commissioner Mundo said, we have, and I'll go in reverse order here. So Commissioner Tyreek Ship, who is nominated for secretary, and you can see a link to the role of what those mean. What I think is great about that role is that the point of it is outreach and making decisions about how to do public engagement in the meetings and make sure the public knows what we're doing. And then as Vice Chair, Commissioner Terry, who has served diligently in that role for the last 2 years, who is up for re-election. And then Commissioner Dolores Canales as chair. Commissioner Canales has served on the commission since day one. There are a few of you left. And is the appointee of Supervisor Janice Hahn from the 4th District, and has led many committees and served on many committees. And I think, as you heard today, has spent a significant amount of time actually in the facilities, meeting with everyone from young people, most importantly, to adults on probation, to the parents and families of young people, and to probation staff. So over the past 5 years has been actively involved in her work as a commissioner and served as an officer as the secretary and then vice chair in the most recent. Actually, have you been an officer since the beginning?
No,
There was 1 year where you weren't, but she's been an officer for 4 of the 5 years of her role on here. So with that, I will ask for a motion to elect Commissioner Canales as chair of the Probation Oversight Commission. There's a motion by Commissioner Jackson, and the second by Commissioner Prater. And then we will do, we're going to do these 3 motions together. So 3 separate motions, and then we'll take public comment and then vote on them all 3 separately. So can I have a motion to elect Commissioner Terry as vice chair? That's Tyreek Ship with the motion, and second? By Commissioner Kakani. Can I have a motion to elect Commissioner Tyreek Ship as secretary? That's Chair Mundo, and a second? That you're going to have to arm wrestle over that one. We'll go with Diane Terry as the second for commissionership as secretary. I'd like to know if there's any public comment in the audience or online about the elections for Probation Oversight Commission officers. Come on up. I'm not making any promises, though, about how much work is involved.
Should we have our ready on the mute button?
First of all, I'd like to thank the POC. The work you've been doing is impactful, to say the very least. And the future changes that need to be addressed are tremendous. But they will affect lives for decades. And I want to wish you all good luck, wisdom, and contemplation about the things you do and say and the moves you make. Congratulations, all of you.
Thank you, Jack. Any comments online? Okay, we have a call-in user. Let's go ahead and your number starts with 323. Your call-in user number 8. You need to dial *6. Oh, there we go. You can begin now.
Hello, so I wanted to say a public comment earlier, but I'm not sure why it wasn't allowing me to. Can I still say my public comment?
We are discussing item number 4, which is the election of officers for the Probation Oversight Commission. Is that what you wanted to make public comment about?
No, the public comment from earlier.
I didn't hear that. Okay. Oh, okay. I would invite you to stay until the general public comment and provide your comment about that issue. Sorry that we missed you. Okay. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Commissioner
I have
Jackson.
just a quick comment, which is that I don't think you really experience the fullness of this commission until you become an officer and you really kind of get into the weeds of the work. There's a lot of things that sort of happen in the backdrop of what we do. A lot is asked of you and invested from you. And I'm wishing you guys a very successful year ahead. And we're really proud to have you guys nominated, but then I'm happy to elect you guys as well. Congrats. Once we get there.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you whether you would like to make some comments before we vote or after we vote, or how we didn't talk about this.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So with that, I will call the vote. So for the election of Commissioner Canales as chair, please vote yes, no, or abstain. Commissioner Canales?
Yes. Oh,
Commissioner Harris? Yes. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kakani? Commissioner Prater? Commissioner Ship?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry? And Chair Mundo.
Yes.
So unanimously, the commission has elected Dolores Canales as chair for 2026. And Commissioner Canales, now Chair Canales, will be able to serve for, we'll have another election next January, but can serve for 2 terms. It's the only officer position that has a term limit on it. And so this will be the beginning of your first year. So congratulations. All right, let's vote on Commissioner Terry as vice chair. Commissioner Canales?
yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kakani? Commissioner Prater?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry? And Commissioner Mundo.
Yes.
So unanimously with Commissioner Meredith being absent, Commissioner Terry is reelected as vice chair. Congratulations. And can we will now vote on Commissioner Ship as secretary. Commissioner Canales?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kakani? Commissioner Prater?
Yes.
Commissioner Ship?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry? And Commissioner Mundo.
Yes.
Okay, so unanimously, the slate of electors is elected. Congratulations to the 3 of you. For the public, the way that this works is that the 3 officers have an additional meeting a month in which they debrief the meeting, set agendas for the next meeting, talk about the priorities. Commissioner Canales will be coordinating a retreat for the leadership team shortly where we can talk about those priorities and be working with the staff. So congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations and good luck. Commissioner Ship, would you like to make any comments?
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm happy to be a part of it. I got to spend a lot of time with you, Eduardo, so I learned some things. I took some things on, so I'll be there soon.
Commissioner Terry?
Appreciate the opportunity and to continue learning and growing in this role. Thank you.
Commissioner Canal, or now Chair Canales.
Yes, thank you so much. And I just want to thank all the commissioners because anyone could be in this position. I mean, that's what a phenomenal team that we have. And so I'm really honored to be holding chair, but I also want to thank you, Commissioner Mundo. You've led by example. You've been a mentor to me. I think all the commissioners here have been a mentor to me. And so I'm really excited about this role and stepping into it and about passing the torch to the other commissioners to be able to have the fullness of the executive body. And thank you.
Well, I hope the world is watching how democracy works. Uncontested, no, no allegations here. So welcome you
I
all.
don't know, can I put forth an executive order?
To extend it to 5 consecutive. So let's move on to agenda item 5. We will discuss and take possible action on a report from Interim Inspector General Eric Bates of the Los Angeles County Office of Inspector General on departmental issue plans, recent reports, 2 of which have been attached to the agenda, and a collaborative work with the POC. Mr. Bates, congratulations on your new leadership role with the OIG, and we look forward to hearing your goals for the department.
Well, thank you. First of all, good morning, commissioners. I think I would be remiss at this point if I don't at the very start acknowledge the work that Max Huntsman did as the previous Inspector General. I think we all know his commitment to oversight that was known nationally, and I think his commitment to LA County has made the county a better place. So those are shoes that I know I cannot fill, but I will try to fill his commitment and continuous commitment to oversight and the incredible work that I think our office does do in monitoring, reviewing, and reporting on conditions of confinement in the probation facilities as well as the sheriff facility. So I'm looking forward to continuing that so that everyone knows I don't see that changing at all. But I am open to any suggestions from the commission if there are things that you feel we can do better. I think we have a great professional working relationship as it is, but if there's something that you feel you may suggest that can make it better, I'm open to that, as was Max as well. So I plan on continuing that. What I do want to go over just today is our quarterly report, which we issued a few weeks ago. And if you have not been able to review it, and for the public who has not, I'll just go over some of the issues there, and then would also ask the public to take a look at it on our website. But the quarterly report was for the quarter of July through September, and it's on programming, room confinement, and grievances. So as you may or may not know, the detailed plan from the settlement agreement requires 93% of youth that are considered not to be a threat to themselves or others or the institution to receive the required activities. And as we've reported recently and previously, because of probation's lack of a data system, we really cannot do a valid audit as to whether or not they're receiving programming. That's why it is important that the POC does its review of programming, because we just, from our standpoint of reporting, cannot get the information yet. The department is implementing a new electronic calendaring system. As you probably know, there have been a number of electronic systems that have been started and stopped. And I'm told that this system will help integrate some of the other systems that they've started. So the hope is that this new system will be able to provide the documentation, the data that can be sent to us as required by the detailed plan, so that we can do an actual quantitative and qualitative evaluation of what programming is being provided. But until then, we still just try to rely on the actual documents, and that's been the problem that we've received. The report also looks at self-separations, and the department is required to document why youth are self-separating. I mean, why are they leaving the activities and going to their rooms and whatnot? We received that information for Barry J. We did not receive that information for Los Padrinos. Barry J., over 95% of those self-separation forms had listed as tired as the reason. 14% noted the staff's efforts to re-engage. So we found previously they did a very good job of when they did do the self-separation forms, there was an area where the staff had to show what efforts they made to get the kids back, trying to get them back into their activities so that they're just not being like a lot of teenagers just going to their room and just being by themselves. But the recent reports, that number's way down. And so we don't see the effort that we believe is needed to get the youth re-engaged into the activities. And of those 14% that we noted where the staffs did actually try to re-engage, we found that 68% of those kind of used kind of boilerplate language, which gives hesitance as to whether or not there was individual activity by the staff to try to get the youth in. So again, those are things that we hope will be resolved by the new data system. The positives, though, that we did find was that documentation for those areas at Barry J was up, because in July it was 18%. 18% of the forms had re-engagement notes. August, it went up to 20%, and September was up to 25%. So those are small incremental increases, but at least they're trending in the right direction. So that was good. We also reviewed the room confinements, and as you know, notification of any room confinement over 4 hours has to be provided to the superintendent. And at Barry J, we found that there were 67 room confinements during the quarter. 6 were over the 4-hour period. At LP, there were 41 room confinements, and 1 was over the 4-hour period. We found, though, that we were happy to find out that of the 7 that were over the 4 hours, they were still complying with state law and the policy as to the efforts you have to make to re-engage and check again. You can't just let them stay in there over 4 hours and that's it. So they did follow the policy and state law in those 7 areas where it did exceed the 4 hours. And just finally, on grievances, the kiosks for the grievances still have not been installed. It was expected to be installed, well, I should say, as the time of this report. It was expected to be, they were expected to be installed by the end of last year, the 4th quarter. So I will have to have my staff go back out and see if those kiosks have been installed. I should have taken the opportunity to ask maybe the probation staff that was here, but that will be in our semi-annual report, which will be out in a few weeks. So by that time, we'll have gone to see if the kiosks actually have been installed. But the grievance system, the GMS system that they've been using is installed, but the kiosk had not been. So I will have an update for you on that in the semi-annual report. Other than that, that's all I have, and I'm open for questions.
Commissioners? Commissioner Terry? Followed by Commissioner Jackson.
Just a quick question. Are there any best practices or guidelines around how staff are supposed to re-engage? Like, do people, I know it seems like simple, you just ask, oh, are you sure you don't want to do this? But is there more that they're?
In all honesty, Commissioner Terry, I've not come across that at all. I don't know if they follow best practices or if it's just a common understanding of asking the youth, hey, don't you want to come back? I would imagine it may not be quantitative, like how many times you have to ask the youth. But that is something that we can look into, because that is a good question as to what is the best way to try to get youth to re-engage. And you know, being the father of 2 and others in here with children, there may not be one particular way to get youth to re-engage. It may be just an individualized effort, but I think what we want to see was just at least the effort. And previously, that was noted on the self-separation forms, but there was a drop-off in that. So I think the first step is there an effort? And then we can evaluate the effort. But that is a good question to see what the actual best effort is to do. So I could look into that for you.
This may be more of a question for Wendy, because during a recent inspection, we noted how fragmented the grievance process was, where the resolution was not well documented or was separated from the process in a way that we didn't really understand how things were being resolved and finalized. Is there something more to say about that? And is there going to be like foreseeable improvement with the new system he's talking about?
So there would absolutely be foreseeable improvement with that system because it would be digitized. I don't know what the right
Yeah.
word is for it. Since I started, and you started about the same time as I did, about 5 years ago, right? There have been so many iterations of what not just the grievance process, but in a very literal sense, how do you make a grievance? So there's always been a written option, but then this kiosk discussion, and then also there's been the option for youth to do it on their LACO computers. And there just have been a different number of systems that have different acronyms and different ways that they're addressed. And so I don't know a nicer way to say it, except for that it can't really be worse. So it will be better. And as much as we can go forward into making this using technology to be able to track those is a very big step forward that I know the department wants to do. There just have been some delays around the actual implementation of that. So I feel really good about the fact that OIG has a handle on how to do this. I will also say the policy subcommittee that Tyreek leads had kind of two topics to work on. One of them was visitation, which has been sort of all encompassing since the beginning of the committee. The second one was grievances. It's something that Jennifer Ochoa Garcia has been working on for 5 years and that we would like to continue to work on, about not just the implementation of the policy, but the actual recreation of a policy. And certainly we have a strong relationship with Eric and OIG to be able to do that together. So I feel like there's a lot of work to be done, but that we're on the right track and that the current leadership of the department agrees that there's a need to do things in a more modern, reportable, transparent way.
Yeah. I think that's great. And then once we learn the technology, we'll obviously modify our review process to like, okay, that's great.
Just a quick question about room confinement. I know that you talked about, I think you said 67 was the number and only 6 at Barry J, I believe, were over that 4-hour limit. Do we, in your auditing of that particular policy, I suppose, are you finding that, like, are you guys tracking or discovering that if the limit is 4 hours, are youth being confined at 3 hours and 59 minutes, you know what I mean, and then released, so that they, are we able to sort of like know the length of time that folks are being confined? I know that, just in case that there's a situation where folks are being confined right at the legal limit, right? And then, sort of like being able to sort of like come out with a really good record of staying compliant. Yeah.
No, is my initial answer. I don't know if we've looked at the exact minute for that. What we do though is we do review video. And so we can see when youth are placed in and when they're released. So we could look into the exact time. I don't believe, because the staff member that does this is very on top of this. So I believe that if there was any hint of that would have been raised. Because what we did find, and we're going to be looking into, is some of the staff just using self-separation as a way of saying they're not room confined, but they actually are room confined.
Yeah, they like to do that. So
correct.
therefore it doesn't
And
meet
we've
that.
come across situations where the room confinement is way after the fact of something happening. So the criteria for the confinement may not be exactly there. But that's something we're looking into because we did come across that, but I want to see if that's a systemic issue or if it just was this one or two times. But we can look at that, but as I said, there's nothing that I believe at this point that would suggest that there's some playing with the time just for compliance reasons. But we'll keep that on the radar for sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kirkani?
I just wanted to follow up on the programming like audit that you all have attempted to do for the last 5 years without any success, or limited success. I don't know how you would characterize it. What is the documentation that you do receive? Is it just the calendar or is it?
We receive what's called a program exception log. So it's a physical log of when programming is not provided. And so the problem with that is there's information that's left off, there's information that can be changed, there's logs that aren't provided. We recently, to our surprise, found out there was a separate internal log that we did not know of. So there's issues relating to the things like that that warrant the data system to be used. I mean, it's way overdue. And I think they are, as I said, they believe that this new system will take care of all that. So we'll have to see.
And did you give a launch date for the new system?
Actually, I believe it's in place now.
Oh,
From
okay.
what I'm told. We haven't had a chance to review any information from it or its use, but as I'm told, it is up and running.
And will you be able to kind of cross-check that with the internal log that you just learned about that probation keeps?
Correct.
And have you requested the internal log for the last 5 years, now that you're aware that it exists?
Oh, the internal, yes. Well,
Okay.
no, not for the last 5 years.
Okay, just,
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there, maybe there is compliance that we're not aware of. I don't know if that's wishful thinking. But yeah, it just feels like if there is something that has existed, right? I mean, they have like a legal mandate to turn that over to you.
I will just say the internal log that we did review did not show compliance. So
Okay, so basically the same result.
perhaps.
Was there any, sorry, was there any discrepancy or difference that you noticed between the internal log and what was actually shared with you? Because I think this has come up before where, what was recorded, what was turned over to the BSCC, for example, was in direct contradiction to either video footage or kind of additional footage, or not footage, but documentation that the BSCC came across. So just wanted to know if there was kind of conflicting information.
I don't know if it conflicted with the BSCC's information, but it did conflict with some of our information.
That's my question, yeah.
Which raised our concern and surprise that it existed.
Yeah, both that it existed and that it conflicts with exactly what you received.
Correct.
Meaning that somebody or some group of people made an intentional effort to.
Well, and the confliction may not be that it put probation in compliance versus us finding them not. It could have just been, we had one number and they had a different number.
Right.
So the numbers were not the same. The information was not the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
If I could just share, Commissioner Kakani, and I know Commissioner Shipp had the same experience, when we did those targeted program inspections recently, it happened both ways, that there were programs that didn't occur that were on the calendar, which is obviously what we were going in there to look for, and also that there were programs that did occur that were not on the calendar. We saw both. So, and on different occasions, we weren't even there on the same day, and different facilities. So I think the idea that there is potentially, I won't say compliance because that sounds like a legal term, but there are things happening that meet requirements of Title 15 that don't get recorded. Does happen that sometimes probation corrects itself and does things that they should be doing and then don't give themselves credit for it because of the lack of organized reporting strategies. So that's part of why I think the technology can really help in terms of being able to even grasp the things they are doing correctly that aren't being recorded.
And I just like to add, I believe in the discussion my staff had with the person who had the internal log. There was nothing nefarious. It was more of not knowing that this log should be provided to us, which is a little shocking. I can see it in your face. I was shocked when I heard that too, since for the last 5 years, we've been saying, give us all and every document relating to programming. But I don't believe it was anything that they were per se hiding intentionally, as opposed to just someone not realizing this internal log should be provided. That may change the more we look into it, but at least at this point, that's what we believe happened.
Just a quick question with respect to sort of documentation that you guys receive about the programming. Does that documentation include the agencies or individuals that probation contracts with? I believe that when you are doing programming inside, you have to sort of like be authorized or go through some process by which you are allowed to kind of come inside and do programming. Are you in possession of those quote unquote contracts with all of the service providers or individuals who have been authorized by the Department of Probation to come into the facilities to do programming? Do you have that document?
No, it's not contracts that we had. It would be just a log showing what the program name is, when it was provided, things of that nature.
I guess what I'm suggesting here is that perhaps that might be good documentation to have, because people can't go into the facility. Oh, my bad.
Your voice sounds like you've got your mic.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, like I'm suggesting that perhaps can you get your hands on that documentation? Because every group has to have, I'm just using contract for lack of a better term. I'm not really sure what the official name is. It is from probation's perspective, but I think that you have to have that authorization, that clearance as a, you know, a community-based organization or an individual going inside to do that programming. I think that might be something that we can kind of measure, you know, hey, these are all folks who've been authorized to do programming versus just like, here's the log of what, you know, some staffer inside is saying is supposed to be happening. Does that make sense?
No, it does make complete sense. I'm hoping the data system will help alleviate all of that. That's the thing. Right now, as I've said before, you know, we're specifically requested by the Department of Justice to look at certain things. And in the detailed plan, it says data from probation is to be provided to OIG within a certain period for whatever reason. Instead of us just sitting back saying, well, we can't report on this because we don't have any data. Instead of us doing that for the last 5 years, we thought it'd be more important to actually look and try to find the answer, despite the fact that it's not being provided as it's supposed to be provided. So because of that, that's why we started looking into the physical documentation of what probation had related to a lot of the areas that we're monitoring. That documentation, as you can imagine, is not up to par. And so that's why we were looking at the physical logs. And as Wendy said, sometimes they'll have information that's, you know, they may be missing the name of a youth or maybe missing the name of a provider. But it's the actual log that is used to show that. Again, I'm hoping the data system will move us away from any need to look at that. But if it doesn't, for whatever reason, then sure, that's something we could try to see from probation. What is your documentation that substantiates this log saying this provider is doing this? Yeah. So I understand your question.
Commissioner Terry.
I don't know if this is a question for you or for probation, but I'm trying to understand the different iterations of the electronic calendar data system. Is the department spending money on these different systems and then determining it doesn't work and then spending money on a new system? And if that's the case, what kind of vetting again, I don't know if you know this, but what kind of vetting happens to know we're going to commit to one system and then ultimately, you know what I'm saying? Because you should be able to spend money and have confidence in it.
I understand that completely. I don't know what the process is or the money that's spent because it seems like every time we do a report, there's a new data system that's being tested and then implemented and then pulled. I was surprised to see that DYD that they were using a DYD program, and I don't know why they were using a outside agency program, but that apparently is no longer being used. They're moving to the electronic calendaring system. So in all honesty, I think that's a question that would be best for probation to answer. But I was surprised as well as I think you were to see the different systems in such a short period of time.
Is that a motion to get that or a question?
You can make a motion if you want to, certainly, but I think that it's actually somewhat similar to the question that Commissioner Shipp brought up earlier about the costs around the depopulation plan, and perhaps Commissioner Harris, who is the new chair of the Budget Ad Hoc Committee, would want to, yes, you were assigned by Chair Mundo. We have another volunteer, which is Commissioner Kakani, to join the Budget Committee, but perhaps you all could take up those. Oh, and I see Commissioner Jackson, which I think our new chair has stepped out, but she will she will approve that. I'm certain. I will make sure we can confirm that so that we can have the budget ad hoc address some of these specific budget questions behind the scenes in an ad hoc committee meeting, and then bring those to an agenda item. That would be up to the new leadership team, if that sounds like a reasonable way to go forward.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, of course, Commissioner Harris.
Mr. Bates, if this feels outside of the scope of what we're talking about, say so. But I'm wondering, generally how you feel AB 847 is going to impact your work and the work that you're doing with the Probation Oversight Commission and the Probation Department.
Can you just explain what?
So, okay, Mr. Bates might be better at doing it. AB 847 is a new bill that passed that went into effect on January 1st. That is, as I understand it, giving greater authority to Inspector General offices in California in dealing with issues of law enforcement misconduct, and that oversight commissions and Inspector General offices are able to access files they need to hold law enforcement officers accountable for their work.
Well, our office already was authorized to handle those type of documents, but it will assist other oversight commissions. And I've not done an analysis as to what I think will be the impact. But as I started with, I think our office working with the POC and the COC will only be there'll be a greater need perhaps in doing that. And so we obviously are open to working with the COC more. We've worked with you all for the last 5 years. So I don't know exactly. We'll have to see. But I think the impact will be more on other oversight commissions as opposed to OIG.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm taking that pause as the end of the question. Oh, okay. So Wendy, do we have any written or live public comment on item 5?
We did not have any written public comments. You're welcome to submit those at info@poc.lacounty.gov. If you'd like to make public comment in live, you can do so by coming up to the podium or use the raise your hand icon or dial *3 on your phone. We don't have any public comment. I will take this opportunity just to share my own congratulations to Eric Bates in this appointment. I've had the benefit of being able to work closely with him because of his assignment in probation together, and I've had a very collaborative and successful relationship in terms of balancing, looking at momentary crises, things that come up, complaints that are brought to us by individual parents or individual young people, and the receptiveness of OIG's office to supporting and looking into that, and also in some of the bigger picture developments. So I'm very pleased to see this appointment, because I think that it's beneficial to have someone who's had the probation lens in this role. And I know that taking on also the issues related to the COC, Civil Brand Commission, the Sheriff's Department is a giant undertaking, but I trust that the work in continuing to hold the probation department accountable and provide effective and collaborative oversight will continue. I think that issue hasn't been in the news as much because the work has been more collaborative. And I trust that with the leadership of the department now and their willingness to have those conversations, that will continue. And I appreciate the model that you have developed in terms of the oversight with the probation department. I think it's been effective, not necessarily in getting to the end reform goals that all of us are looking for, but in moving the right direction and allowing for open communication. So congratulations, and I look forward to your continued role here.
Thank you. And I would just like to say it's been a pleasure working with Wendy and the commissioners here. And I think you can really see sometimes a level of respect by the non-obvious ways. So when you see our reports cited in your reports, that means a lot to us. And I hope you see when we cite your reports in our reports. So I think it's a great collaboration because, again, I think we're both trying to reach the same goal, and that's to make sure the county takes care of the youth that are in their care. And my goal is to continue that and strengthen it even more with any suggestions that anyone may have.
You know, I can't help but say this, your reference to filling the big shoes that Huntsman is leaving makes me kind of smile, because you wear some very good looking shoes all the time and some great socks. And so you're already ahead of the game there. So
Camera can't see that. I'm glad. That's okay.
I notice that every time I walk in when you're in here. So I'm sure you're more than capable of filling his shoes. So that said, it is now, well, thank you for joining us. And we will move to a short break before we proceed to the next agenda item. It is now 11:15. We should be back by 11:25. Hey, we're ready to, all right, return. I dropped coffee.
Oh, no.
Okay, welcome back. It's time to proceed with item number 6, which is to discuss and take possible action on identifying priorities to guide the POC's work in 2026, including inspections, data analysis and reporting, programming, and community engagement. We have several attachments under this item, including the POC's 2022 operational plan, core values, and model of change. Wendy, please proceed with your updates on the staff retreat takeaways, which have also been attached.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to thank the staff of the Probation Oversight Commission. You know, the Probation Oversight Commission was a novel idea that was created by the Probation Reform Implementation Team and a group of many community members who put together this concept for civilian oversight by people who are close to the problem, including obviously people who have personal experience within the systems. Their families have been within the systems. They've been attorneys in the systems. They've been social workers and other providers within the systems. One of the most important things that the PRIT came up with that would differentiate the current Probation Oversight Commission from the former Probation Commission was the staff. The original plan was a staff of 19 members. We currently have 8 members, nine members of our staff. There are a lot of things that we can do as a staff that previously, if you can imagine, when they just had one person who was kind of part-time assigned, weren't able to do. Also, that means we get to talk about our goals and have staff retreats, just like you all do with your staffs at the places where you work. But we remember always that the important work and the decisions to be made are owned by you all, the commissioners. So while the board offices may call me directly to ask questions or may talk to Sarah directly to ask things about the inspections, we serve as a repository of a lot of information for not just the board, but a lot of our agency partners in the community. The decisions to be made on how we go forward belong to you. But we as the staff have a lot more time to talk about them than you do. So what we try to do is have the conversations behind the scenes where we can bring up a lot of the issues and then get your blessing as to the direction that we're going. So what I'm going to present to you today is what the staff came up with as our plans and priorities, but the decision about what we do is yours. I want to just make sure that that is clearly prefaced. I like it that way. And also, as I think was very clear in our recent election, there is a tremendous amount of respect and consensus among this commission, which is something I value very much. And that doesn't just happen accidentally. It happens because of the cultivation of that by the leadership of the commission, by the staff, by the commissioners themselves, and the way that you engage with the members of the public and the members of the probation staff and the people who have been in the facilities and on adult probation. So with that, I just want to make some suggestions that the commission recommended that actually they're very minimal to the mission, values, and core values and model of change. We put a lot of thought into this along with you all at the beginning, but I think there's one thing that Commissioner Harris brought up today that is on our list of things to change, and you didn't even know it. We recommend no change to the mission and vision. That's actually something I feel pretty strongly about. The mission and vision of this commission were created by the Probation Reform Implementation Team. I don't actually feel like it's mine to change. I think that it has remained necessary, certainly, the civilian oversight of the probation department, as well as the need for reform and adherence to the goals of Youth Justice Reimagined and Care First, Jails Last on the youth side and the adult side. The core values, however, were created by the commission itself. I think the core values are very helpful to me in terms of constantly reminding ourselves about the approach that we take. It's certainly the approach that we take in our meetings and our engagement with the public and with stakeholders and with staff and with people who are actually directly impacted by probation. So there are only 2 recommended changes. One is related to the core value of integrity. And this is what Commissioner Harris brought up today. So I think that what you brought up was the question about whether the department themselves had done something similar to the evaluation of the depopulation plan in terms of looking at numbers. That is a very valid question and something that I hope that they're doing and have learned sometimes they are doing it and not sharing it with the public and not sharing it with us. And other times they're not doing it. So I'll give you two other examples of how this happened in 2025. One is the board asked the department to do a pros and cons list about the global plan, which, as you may recall, was what preceded the depopulation plan. It didn't happen, but we created a pros and cons list, and we tried to make it very factual and neutral, similar to the report that you saw today about the depopulation plan. The second thing is that the staff, with support of the leadership, drafted a depopulation plan that was drafted before the department's depopulation strategy. So this is something that we are really trying to do, is to role model the work of constant quality assurance and constant improvement and constant review and evaluation and looking at fact-based, person-centered approaches to this work, and to do so in a way that models how we hope that the department will do that work. And that has, to an extent, worked. I think it's working. And I think that it at least gives an example for them to counter. So another way that that came up today is in the sharing of data. So I think we heard today that there may be some, what did they call them? IT problems with the way some of the population statistics were shared. Those statistics are what we depend on in order to analyze the data. And so we need to make sure that they're accurate, and we need to make sure that they get corrected. So we will update our reports once we receive updated data to make sure that it's correct, and then share that information with the public. I have said this like 1,000 times over the last 5 years, but we, the Probation Oversight Commission, should not be sharing the data. The data should be shared by the probation department. I feel very strongly about that. But until they have a way to share that data successfully with the public in a way that's consumable by the public, we will continue to do so. There was a pretty tremendous victory this week with the passage of the board motion on data transparency and the creation of a data dashboard that I think is moving us in the right direction. And my thanks go to Supervisor Mitchell for putting that on the board agenda. It was passed unanimously. There wasn't even any discussion about it at the board meeting on Tuesday, so I think we're all on the same page. So that is an addition to the core value around role modeling to the department and other stakeholders about how to do this work. The second change is an addition, actually it's a deletion and an addition to compassion. You may read a little bit of cynicism into this, and I think that is appropriate. So after a long discussion, the staff are recommending that we replace the phrase "assume best intentions" with the phrase "leave space for people to learn and grow." That may be semantics for a lot of folks, but I think, to be totally frank, there was a discussion about how not everyone approaches this group with best intentions, and that we need to move on beyond a level of naivete and have compassion and respect and accept that people are bringing us their truths. But when they show that the information that's provided is not accurate, and I want to be clear that I'm talking about everybody who approaches this group, not just the probation department, that we give people space for learning and growing. You may note that there's another word we could have used there, which is forgiveness, which we talked about a lot and decided not to use. So the idea here is that while we will continue to engage with everyone who approaches this group with a high level of respect and listening and expecting people to be sharing their truths, that sometimes that needs to be it's not accurate, and we need to be able to correct it and then give people a chance to correct themselves. And I have found that to be something that I do personally in my professional life is build relationships with people where I can have a significant conflict with someone and then go on to work very successfully with them in the future, assuming that I'm willing to change, assuming that they're willing to change, and that we're willing to recognize where we've missed the mark. So those are the two recommended changes to the core values. I'm not actually asking you to do anything about this today because I think the leadership team should discuss those at their retreat. I just wanted to put it out there. And then I'd like to talk about the priorities. As I was drafting this document, it made me laugh a little bit because I had put, data and research team, programs and services team, communications and community engagement team. Those teams it's a little bit of a misnomer to call them a team since they are mostly 2 people, or in one case, 3 people, but they are teams. And certainly together we're a team. We're just not siloed. We all do work to support each other. And a lot of this is individual people doing this work. Though the biggest change, I think, is in the data and research team, which makes the most sense because we have an additional member of our team now. And that is the newest developing team, which is to focus on priorities to improve the access that the Probation Oversight Commission has to data and the consistency of that data. And then it says to update the MOU. That's actually a very specific goal that we have this year. We have a memorandum of understanding that was signed by former Chief Gonzalez of the department about what data will be received on a regular basis and how that data will be requested and received. It's things like the daily population statistics. There are some of the items on the MOU are obsolete. And there are some things missing that we do need. I will say that in general, the department has been complying with the things on the MOU. It just should be cleaned up and corrected and clear so that if we got to a point where there was some kind of disagreement about information that could or would be shared, we have a document that has been approved by the current administration and that has the current data that we need. Expand our fact sheet topics to monitor reform, progress, and concerns. The fact sheets have been an awesome addition to our work that are available on our website that analyze, we've been able to do them because of the department's provision of data around the monthly snapshot. We'll be able to do even more when we start regularly receiving the intake data monthly. And so this is a very fact-based, person-centered analysis around who we have on probation, who we have detained in the facilities, their demographics, their needs, their particular vulnerabilities, and it helps understand what kind of programs we need. And then finally, uncover inefficiencies, promote right sizing and policy change. And that I think you'll see relates directly to some of the budget issues that have come up over the last year, but certainly in today's meeting as well. The programs and services work has been, I think, the backbone of what you all have done and what the commission has done and what people see us do from the outside, with a particular focus on our inspections. Of course, the annual inspections and how powerful and meaningful those are in terms of shining a light on the facilities that most people never have a chance to see what they actually look like and feel like from the inside. But also the targeted inspections, things like looking at the programming, looking at the Narcan, staff carrying Narcan, being able to go in and make immediate evaluations, observations, and recommendations to the department and the board. So there are a couple of goals that we have around better turnaround times for sharing key findings and reports to the department and the board about those inspections, providing additional training for commissioners, and then being able to do those continued specialized projects that come up during the year, mostly because you all uncover them, sometimes because people bring them to us here at the meetings, and other times because the board asks us to do them. And then in terms of communications and community engagement, this is a place where I can't be humble about it. Our team really shines in the area of communications and public engagement. I think that's measurable in terms of how many people participate in our meetings, but also in the quality of the communications that go out. And so there's a little bit under here that might sound like keep doing what we're doing, which is basically what the what the goal is. But certainly we wish to continue to have complete transparency about what we are doing. You may have noticed we really try to do that in our annual report and our key performance indicator reports, but also to provide analysis and recommendations to synthesize information to help the public and stakeholders understand our reports and data. I think we are fully aware that sometimes our reports are a little cerebral or long or a lot of different numbers or a lot of different narratives that are difficult to digest. My joke about talking on the phone to Eduardo is not a joke. I have had to talk to him for hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours, to be able to understand some of the nuances of this data. So it's completely out of the realm of expectations to expect a member of the public to be able to come in and look at our report and understand it. And I think that Ismael and Belinda have a strong desire to help synthesize those into more consumable information, the target of which is improving education and helping people understand this better so that we can get to more easy solutions. I shared with the team this week that I think the idea is that simpler recommendations are more easily repeated and more easily implemented. And so while it is possible to do a lot of very in-depth work, we need to focus on some targeted improvements in order to get to move forward with where we're going. Our biggest takeaway from the staff retreat was that where the POC shines the most is in writing and sharing transparent, fact-based, people-focused reports, analyses, and recommendations. So that's my report. And what I would like to do is take any questions that you have, but much more importantly, I would like to hear from you all about what you want the goals of the commission to be, both uplifting things we've already been doing that we should continue doing, things that we've been doing that you think we should stop doing, and new things that you think we might consider doing over the next year to inform Chair Canales and the leadership team as we go into a leadership retreat to be able to define what those priorities are and bring them back to you. So with that, I will turn it back over to Commissioner Mundo to facilitate that discussion.
Hey, commissioners. You've been tasked.
I'll start. I really will start by saying, like, I don't have suggestions on what more to do as much as things that it would be great for us to maintain. And I would start with a suggestion in the data and research area where I was really proud of some of the things that we authored, like the education proposal, the pros and cons to the global plan. And I think it would be really great if we offered more actionable recommendations, suggestions, and assessments. I think it's very easy for us to get frustrated when our recommendations are not adopted, but it's equally helpful when we are assessing things that aren't quite working that are adopted. And so I like when the commission, specifically our staff, take that initiative, and it gives us something to really discuss and evaluate ourselves. And in terms of communications and community engagement, I thought it would be really great that we had 1 or 2 interactive non-meeting events a year where we're really able to engage the public in a different way. I think community building and storytelling, we shine in that area as well. And it would be great if we can do that in maybe a creative or familial environment versus something that's like a meeting setting. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson.
Okay, if I could just say, Commissioner Jackson and I talked about this a couple of years ago, actually specifically with respect to the sexual misconduct issues and doing something very different than what our peers at the COC did in terms of the hearings on the sheriff's gangs, which were quite effective, but in a totally different approach. And we talked about the idea of doing storytelling-based, art-based, safe community space for people to share stories. So that is certainly certainly something I would love to do, as you know. So so what I would like to welcome the public and people who are listening is that if some of you would like to help us, I know we have some regular attendees and listeners to these meetings who are folks who work for nonprofit organizations that specialize in this type of area. We could certainly use your help in putting something together like that. So thank you for that suggestion and bringing it up again.
Your leadership, not your help. We'd like Arts for Healing Justice, you guys to really help facilitate those things for us. So.
Okay, Commissioner Harris?
Yeah, I think I really do appreciate the addition of role modeling, and I see it like, I see it connected to things like the visitation project that was taken on in the summer and fall, and the link between, OICR and POC and the department, and a really like concrete, actionable set of recommendations that the department seems to be taking very seriously. And I think remaining nimble is really critical, because the leadership that the POC is displaying through these reports and recommendations is, it's pushing the needle. And so I think that, I don't have specific recommendations, just I support, these proposals, and appreciate that you all identified, where we shine and how you help the commissioners in shining, and your skills and talents, and then how we can actually push change. Because I think, I hate to sound like a broken record, but like, we're still talking about non-compliance, 13, 14 months later. And so the areas that we can impact change really feel significant, when we're up against, really like, this is a really huge county. These are some really huge problems. And so, I think that the POC recognizing its potential and power and skills is really important. And this is a good list.
Commissioner Terry?
Just to kind of echo what Commissioner Jackson was saying, I think it came up in a meeting, maybe public comment, about having a meeting on a weekend or on an off during the week time or in an evening to help engagement. So that could be something we consider. I love the communications and community engagement that already takes place. One thought that I've had is that sometimes we're in these meetings and the department will like break down something really complex. And if we could follow up with some sort of like flow chart or infographic based on what we've learned. Like there was one meeting, for example, where I think we all kind of got some clarity around the 90-day on-off rotation, although I'm still fuzzy sometimes. So having some sort of visual, because if we're still fuzzy, I think others are as well. And that could be something to enhance the good work that the team is already doing.
Commissioner Ship?
Yeah, no, I love all of the takeaways from this retreat. One thing I truly appreciate about the commission, I got to shout out the comms team. They make me look really good on Instagram, so I really appreciate that. No, but I really appreciate this. I would also add, could we, and this is a problem that I've been having with the department, could we do more things around long-term planning with the department? Every time I ask them for, and yes, they have a mission and a vision, but like when I ask like what's going to happen in the year, it's like I don't know. So trying to push them to do more long-term planning themselves, or just making recommendations on long-term planning, I think it's important.
Commissioner Chair Canales?
Yeah, thank you. This is all great feedback. I really look forward to the year ahead. And also, I know another thing that was suggested at our last meeting that I think we had discussed even a few years ago was maybe thinking every 3 months or 4 months, having it in a different location, especially like out towards the Palmdale area. I know during the Alternatives to Incarceration work groups, they were very under-resourced, and I think it would be good to have a POC out there.
Chair Mundo keeps looking at me, so I think I have to have a comment.
No, it's just that I usually can't go left, but now I have to
No,
go
it's
right.
okay. It's okay. But I do want to just underscore just how, I mean, I've been wowed by the professionalism, by the quality of work that your small but mighty team does, given what we in my former industry in higher education call wicked problems that are complex, that are hard to solve, that require creative and collaborative solutions. The way you guys tackle this is extraordinary. So I want to kind of shout you guys out for that, but also want to underscore the idea of like these alternative meetings, because even many of us, we have to step away from running our own organizations to be present for 4 to 5 hours to sort of be in this space. And so if there were a meeting in the evening, would kind of allow us to sort of like serve the youth and our folks that we serve without interruption, and then kind of to be present. But I know that might be a complication for folks who have families. And so I know that as a single person and childless person, it's easy for me to say. So there's that. But but I also want to kind of understand better. I'm not really sure where this fits. Just like I'm thinking about like youth justice reimagined, and I'm thinking about, I served previously on the Commission for Children and Families, and so our oversight was over DCFS. This commission having oversight over probation, but trying to figure out where DYD fits in all of this. If we are transitioning, if the idea was to transition to a reimagined sort of like space where DYD is sort of leading, and then what is our oversight beginning and do they should that be folded into oversight? I don't know. I just have questions about sort of like if the what that looks like, what I'm saying, the landscape, if there's an analysis of like how all of these things come together would be, I think, kind of helpful to understand for me, as our youth are sort of like being served by a department that's outside of probation, then what does that oversight look like? And if that is part of our responsibility and et cetera. And so that's more of a question than it is a recommendation.
Well, maybe it's linked to what Commissioner Shipp just said in terms of long-term planning and role modeling, perhaps the commission needs to do some of that as well. I think that's a good suggestion about how the future would look under if things were to play out the way they've been contemplated, how it would look for the commission, what our role would be, and how we could make that work. There's certainly, just to address your specific point, that has come up multiple times with LACO and DMH and Juvenile Court Health Services, where we're not the oversight commission over any of those bodies, but they definitely do work that directly impacts probation. And so the topics come up in these meetings and talking about how we maneuver that in a way that is perhaps more collaborative, since we don't have any actual written authority over those organizations, but still holding folks accountable. I think that sounds like a great topic for a way to address long-term planning.
And to be clear, I'm not suggesting that DYD needs any oversight. I'm not saying that there's a thing. So I hope that anybody there is not watching think that what is Sam trying to say? Like, it isn't that. I'm just sort of trying to understand like this is it's a big problem, and it requires the collaboration between all these different entities and organizations and departments. And so, it's a delicate dance. So, yeah.
Perfect. Commissioner Kakani, followed by Chair Canales.
I was just, I was thinking about how Chair Canales had shared the idea of like going to different parts of the county to just connect with different folks. But what might be helpful as a part of that is, in addition to doing more like meetings, to have listening sessions with stakeholders, whether it's, we kind of did something with the union once at some point last year, doing it with parents. And I know that happened kind of informally when we were doing the visitation inspections. But yeah, it's something a little more structured where we're hearing from young folks, hearing from the SYTF young folks, hearing from, again, parents, programming folks, probation employees, I think would just be helpful in terms of how we move in our understanding of the system.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think, we've really looked into the visiting supervisor, Han. I was recently with her at Los Padrinos, and how she started going is because the youth had sent her a card and it was presented at the Board of Supervisors and they all signed it. They all wrote what they would envision and what they needed. And we were just there and she said, you sent me this whole list and I've been able to accomplish one thing on the list, you know? And so I really hope that we don't drop the ball, you know, with visitation. I think that should remain a priority. I remember being at site at Los Padrinos on Mother's Day and I was so excited because we were giving them gift bags. But this one mother just looked at me totally broken and she said, can I hug my son? You know, the gift bag was irrelevant, us trying to bring all the warm welcome, all of that was irrelevant compared to a hug. And so that is something that I really would like to strive for 2026, is that the youth can have that one hug and the youth can connect with their family. And I will continue to pursue this issue. Thank you.
Hey. Commissioner Jackson.
One last thing. I remember when we worked with Georgia Leap to craft the strategic operational plan in 2022, and it felt like at the time that it was going to swallow us whole. It was like so much, it was so macro level, and it was just a lot to digest and work towards. And we had lots of committees and committee meetings and all of that. But I took a glance at the plan and realized that we've achieved everything that's in it. And I really want to use every opportunity that we have to highlight how we're progressing over time. And maybe it's modified and simplified in a lot of ways, but if we can keep that at the forefront of what we do as much as possible, I would love for that to be something that we focus on this year.
Thank you. And Mr. Chinchilla over there agrees with you. He would like to have us highlight those accomplishments. And it's, you know, it's hard to do because it's hard for me to do. I'll make that a nice statement. It's hard for me to do because of all the work that remains to be done. It feels difficult to celebrate anything, to be totally honest. But certainly there are many things to celebrate in terms of accomplishments and moving forward. And I appreciate, you know, the concept of moving the needle and this like incremental movements toward change. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. It's why we printed it in the document today. There's a lot that's been achieved.
Hey, moving on to public comment. Is there any live or written comment, Wendy?
We did not have any written public comment on this agenda item. If you'd like to make public comments, please use the raise your hand function. Come up to the podium. Send us an email.
A text.
No. Lupe Ross. Oh, great. Welcome, Lupe.
Mute.
Oh, start again. Your microphone just opened.
Okay now? Hello?
Okay, good. Try it again.
Okay. I have a couple of things. You know, I am so impressed as a 76-year-old great-grandmother in this community to see the POC at work. I am so grateful to you. I have a couple of concerns. At one time, everything was being put on the judge, ordered, or there were laws that we could or laws that we couldn't. Could the president of the POC meet with the judge monthly and go over like legal terms, legal things to bring some clarification to us? And my other suggestion is education. It's always an issue that kids don't go to school, either for fighting or teachers or whatever. So how are they graduating? How are they graduating? And are they comparing it to how many days they were in school or not? Can they graduate? Or they just been given grades to pass them along? I would like to see more emphasis placed on drug addiction, mental health, and gang membership, especially those kids that are coming home on the RFA program. We need to look into the RFA program and be able to recruit more placements to keep the kids out of juvenile hall. And again, I thank the commissioners very much.
Thank you, Lupe.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And then we have call-in user number 9. Your number starts with 909. You need to dial *6 to unmute yourself. I think we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, you can proceed.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You can go ahead and make your comment.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, this is item 6 about a community engagement. I am a big advocate for community engagement, and then I want to continue. There's a amazing speaker in the previous meeting talk about community engagement. And then, I want to talk about that every year for people like me, I wish that if I can also take a visit in a lot of the facilities, not only you have to be a probation staff or you have to be a commissioner or you have to be an officer. I actually would love to take a tour, and I have done that before, jail, prison, and sometimes I even did a ride along with a police officer. So, I would really love to have, how to experience a day in the life of a probation officer or a day in the life of a probation commissioner, something like that. I think that will be a great, community engagement. And then, second, I would also advocate once in a year, we can have a Saturday meeting, evening meeting, Sunday meeting, Friday meeting, or one or twice a year to increase the engagement, because on Thursday morning, everybody are at work, everybody are at a school. So that's the reason why that there are so little public comment, because if you can do a more community engagement in some other hours, I'm assuming that you will have 1,000 of people lining up in your room to talk to you. But the reason why that you have a regular business hour meeting every single time, well, it really prevents a lot of community engagement. And then to close my remark is that, like I promised to Commissioner Meredith, there's no attack, only feedback today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Commissioners, any final questions or comments related to this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 7. We will discuss and take possible action on a report from POC Executive Director Wendy Julian.
Thank you. Thank you. Part of the reason why we put this item on the agenda every month is to be able to share with the public and the commissioners the requested items that have been received. And so those are all attached to the agenda, those that have been received, which is most of them from the memo. There are some interesting documents that were received recently that I'd recommend that people look at, for example, regarding the violations for adults on probation, comparing the last 3 years. I will say the department gave us exactly what we asked for. And when I looked at it, I thought, oh gosh, this is hard to synthesize because it's really straightforward, the numbers, but it doesn't tell us how many adults were on probation those years. I have not heard that there's been a tremendous change in the number of adults on probation over the last 3 years, but that's just anecdotal. So I have asked them to provide that number so we can get some context. But I think it's interesting to see that actually the numbers in 2025 are similar or lower, which I think was the discussion that led to the motion by Commissioner Shipp at the last meeting, was whether the deployment of staff to the juvenile hall had resulted in more people receiving violations. So this is something that Commissioner Mundo has said many times over the years, that it's important to look at the data and then let the data lead us to our questions. There are a couple of things that we're still waiting on. One is on violation violations of juvenile probation. I will say I learned something new this month about juvenile probation violations, which is that they're not the same as adult, in that violations around youth who are on probation are something that's decided by the court. So probation makes recommendations, but the way that you track violations is different than with adult violations where they can just pull it out of their system. So it's taking longer to collect that information, but they will be providing it. So I would not recommend any action on that. There is one open question, which is on some of the consultant contracts that was based on Commissioner Harris's motion from, I think, 2 meetings ago. And we are in regular discussions with the department about getting that information. Donisha Smith and I are going to work with the OIG's office and administration at probation to be able to get the answers to all those questions that we need. I feel confident that we will be able to receive them. But other than that, we got the documents that we asked for. I will say one other thing that I'd like to report is that we've been following up on a number of board motions that are active and have completed the directives on most of those. The one that may be of most interest to you is on the post-secondary, the college programming and education for college students in the facilities with the recommendation that was passed by the board. LACO is actively collaborating and reaching out to us. We're going to have a meeting with some of the commission members and Michael Massa from OICR. But I had the opportunity to talk with them yesterday because they have a very tight turnaround for the first required report back that is due, I think, in 10 days, something like that. I was very pleased with the conversation. They have a contractor that they've been working with that called Third Way that is very impressive in terms of their experience and expertise in this area. They did share with me that they have sort of a three-pronged approach that sounds exactly right, which is where are we now? Where should we be? And then how do we get there? I think that's exactly the right way to do this. And that they will be providing that information, but are having some trouble with receiving some of the data that they need. So that is something that I think we can be helpful with in terms of commissioners learning about what some of the gaps are and being able to support collaborative work between probation and LACO to move forward with a potential proposal there. So I am really looking forward to that continued collaboration and think that it's going exactly the way that that the Education Ad Hoc Subcommittee expected, which is that there's the first step is to say, what should we be doing? I'm looking at Commissioner Prater because that was exactly what he brought up in the meeting. And then I think that that Commissioner Mundo said after the board passed the motion that was basically a copy and paste of a lot of your recommendations in the way that you had just talked about with the concrete recommendations, that the great news is that now the conversation is happening among the people who have the expertise to have the conversation, and that's our job, is to put forward those recommendations and then let the experts take it on. And so I feel confident that that's what's happening. There will be a report back by January 17th, but some of the report back will say, here are the gaps, and you all may decide you want to help address some of those gaps. So more to come, and certainly this is an ongoing conversation with them. Yes.
So sorry. Quick question about, so that report back is due back on the 17th. We're calendared next to be back in session at the end of the month, correct, for that special meeting? And is that going to be an agenda item on that?
No, the next possible time to have this as an agenda item would be in the February meeting.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean that members of the commission couldn't meet with LACO between now and then. In fact, I think and hope that will happen.
Okay.
So that there can be continued conversations as long as it's with a small group of commissioners that would then agendize that. And that'll be up to the new leadership team, whether that's a February agenda item.
Okay.
I will also say that on a separate LACO issue, they have talked to, there was another motion that same week at the board around the suspensions. And they have reached out to me to ask the leadership team about the potential of agendizing their work on that issue as well. So those are things we can talk about going forward. But other than that, the documents are attached to the agenda, and I'll take any questions.
Just related to the juvenile probation violations, because they work differently, is it possible to get kind of the number of times probation recommends a violation and then another time, and then the times that those, I don't know if they're violation petitions are like sustained or, I don't know, approved by the court?
Yes, I don't know what to expect in terms of what they're planning on giving to me, but that seems like what makes the most sense is how often does it come up and how often. The way that it was explained to me, and this would definitely be something we should ask the probation department to explain better, which makes a lot of sense, is sometimes we've heard from the public defender's office that there will be such terms on probation as on juvenile probation as be on time for school. And so if a young person is late for school, that may be a literal violation of the terms of probation, but it may not result in a violation of probation based on why and whether or not that's the right thing to do. And so that there are a number of things that are less concrete in the way that this works. So what I think we should do is wait to see what they give us and then see whether there are additional questions that come up similar to the adult data.
Questions, comments, concerns? Wendy, do we have any written or live public comment?
No written public comment. Let's see if we have any live public comment. I don't think so. Nope.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 8. Or matters not posted on the agenda to discuss or to place on a future meeting agenda for action.
I do. Like I was sort of mentioning this to Wendy during our break. I'm concerned about, we spend a lot of time talking about the experience of our youth while they're in custody, whether in the facility. But as you know, a number of our youth are stepping down into community, into less restricted placements. And I think that there's some work that the commission can do. It can be in figuring out oversight, monitoring compliance, because that is completely absent from the step down space. And I think that there's some work that the commission can, I think we can be impactful in ensuring that, standards are in place, best practices, et cetera, that governs what the experience of folks are who are still under supervision of the courts and under jurisdiction of probation, but it operate in a space where there is almost little to zero compliance and monitoring, et cetera. And so I don't know if that's a subcommittee that could be formed to kind of like really to investigate and evaluate, but I think that this is an area of concern.
Sounds like we have a volunteer.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Commissioner Kakani.
Just one thing. Yeah, I look at these contraband reports that we get every month. And sometimes they're so hard to make sense of, when in October there were like 63, I guess, items, I don't know, that were found, 18 of which are other. And as we enter into our second year of operating both an unlawful and unsuitable juvenile hall, the safety of young people feels really important. And I know that the department has both spent a number of dollars and I don't know, and like created a number of interventions to try to improve the safety. And so maybe just like some sort, I don't know what this looks like. If it's the safety and security team, if it's a breakdown of this data, but something around, just like the safety of young people and the efforts that the department has taken to improve that and their effectiveness or lack thereof. And also what these numbers mean. Like, I don't know what 18 other contraband items mean.
What I would like to suggest is that we have these forward meetings that covers a lot of very difficult information to understand. But as commissioners, we do have a little bit of leverage with meeting with people in the department outside of this venue. And maybe because I'm an ex-employee, I get a little more, but when I talk to these people, when I talk to the director from IDC, they're more than willing to set aside time to get really into the weeds. And then we can come back and actually have a little more clarity on what we want to request, because we have a little bit better understanding of what's available. And so I would suggest that as we do go to item 9 in the future, that we try to reach out to the leadership that is responsible for these areas.
I just want to push back on that a little bit. My obligation or like my position on the POC feels tied to like the public and to young people, their families, and the folks who are trying to make sense of this, very difficult to navigate system. And so I think that there is a lot of value in public conversation for us sitting up here and for the folks tuning in. And so, yes, you can gather information, but I learn so much from when my colleagues are listening to the same information that I'm listening to and are reacting to it similarly, differently. So yes, I can, for my like personal education, talk to someone who's on the safety and security team to try to understand how they collect data, what these things mean. But I also think that there's a lot of value from starting at the same place as everyone else and having that conversation together.
And I think you misunderstand what I'm saying, is that unless you're going to take over the meeting for 4 hours and dig through it completely, they're not going to get a chance to hear that. But if you go and do the preliminary work and come back, then you can actually help with the education of the data. It just doesn't get dug out here. And with 10 items, you just don't do that. And it's easier to get the information first, come back and frame it in a public setting and share it with us, and so we can actually explore it more. But always starting at 0 here, we end up at 1 rather than starting at 5 and end up at 9. It's just a different approach, and it's just more meaningful for the public when they have some of it fettered out for them, and the more important thing surfaces. And that's all I'm suggesting. Now, you can continue to do it your way, and that's fine. But if your goal is to educate the public, doing a little bit of the dig first and then surfacing the stuff, it just will give them a better idea than trying to get here with 9 commissioners asking little bits and pieces and trying to get it together and understand it. That's all I'm suggesting.
If I could just address something very specific to that contraband report, I actually agree that the contraband report is not helpful in sharing with the public or the commissioners about safety. In particular, because there are a few things that are not distinguished. Like, not everything on that contraband report is smuggled in to a facility, for example. There are some items that are considered contraband that are something that a young person might have in their room that they got, they were allowed to have, like a pen or a charger or a marker or something that was brought in by, that they had in class, or that they brought somewhere. So it's contraband because they're not allowed to have it, but it doesn't mean that it was some kind of, criminal act of smuggling something into the facility. There's another problem that you bring up, which is about the numbers, and where if you find somebody that has 10 pictures that are considered contraband because they have some kind of gang affiliation or something like that, that's counted as 10. And so are we comparing the safety related to having 10 photographs in your room with compared to having a weapon or something that's drugs, right? That could be significantly more harmful. It sort of equates things that aren't equal. So I think this is actually exactly why the core value question about role modeling is why we added that, is that we're hoping to help the department share information that is beyond transparent, because this is transparent. I actually think it's great that we get this data on a regular basis and can compare it in terms of trends, but that is actually helping do better. and that would be helpful for them and easier for them to collect and more important for them to know. I will say specific to safety and security, Deputy Chief Arcos has been extremely helpful in terms of rethinking the way that this is done and the way that it's presented, and I think would be open to that conversation specifically around the contraband report. So there may be a way to do sort of the strategy that both of you are talking about in a way that works better for the public and the commissioners, but also is done outside the meeting.
Hey, Commissioner Ship.
Yeah, that just reminded me also, I do want to send a shout out to our executive director, Wendy Julian. She gave a dope presentation in Sacramento the week before Christmas. And just had like everybody up there with their jaws dropped. So, I mean, POCs might be springing up throughout California soon. So thank you for that. It was beautiful.
Okay. Item number 9 is an invitation for members of the public to address the commission on items not on the agenda. Wendy, please facilitate public comment for us.
Okay, we welcome you to make public comment about anything in our purview that wasn't on the agenda. Hi, Cookie. Welcome. Happy New Year.
The one thing that I always think about when I come here is we talk about so much about the community, so much about everything that's going on, except our probation officers, who are doing an incredible job at a time when they're very short-staffed. Nobody looks at the fact that the officers are doing a great, great job and doing things that you wouldn't think that they would think of to do on behalf of some of these kids, on behalf of some of the people, even in the field, of where all the people in the field are now in the halls. But I just want us to keep in mind that these probation officers are doing a hard job. And they're really meeting the task. Thank you.
Thank you, Cookie.
Anybody online? No? Okay.
Okay. Agenda item number 10. Thank you all for joining us and sharing your comments. As a quick reminder, be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel at LA County POC. To receive reminders about our upcoming meetings, visit our website at poc.lacounty.gov to subscribe to our email listings. It is now 12:25. May I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting? All right. Okay, we have seconds and firsts and thirds and fourths. Today's meeting is now adjourned.